So I thought I'd come on here and just talk for a second before the show starts. I am aware that YouTube does have a feature where you can upload a video and then live premiere it, and you don't have to worry about it that way. And I do know that, but I got in kind of late yesterday, and finished recording the podcast, and woke up this morning and uploaded it, and I've got a lot of really cool pictures that I'm going to put in on video. This is not just an audio only live stream. This is there's a lot of photos that I took that I put in over the audio, and there's even some video too. And I think you're really going to like this show. I recorded pretty much the bulk of the show last night when I got home, although there is some audio. The show opens up with some audio I recorded on the last night of our trip, Thursday night, detailing kind of an anxious experience there at the end of our vacation. So you'll hear all about that in just a minute. But I recorded just a little bit of video and some audio during the actual vacation, and so you'll hear that. But it took several hours to render the 3 hours of audio and video I'm about to play for you. And so YouTube is still, the video is still uploading to YouTube. So it'll all be up there tomorrow. So I'm just basically live streaming this from my computer, from the OBS. And I hope you enjoy this. I'm going to hang in there for a little while. I don't know if I'm going to be here for the entire 3-hour show because I'm still recuperating. You never really hear about car lag, but I've got it right now. Just in the car for a very long time yesterday, escaping from Florida. Yeah, but I will be here for a little while. And if you want to, chat and throw it in there, thank you so much for joining me here tonight. This is Mike Booty, by the way, the Midnight Citizen Show. And we're about a minute past 10:30, the promised start time. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and begin the show. And, if you can hang in for the entire 3 hours, that's fantastic. But I understand, tomorrow is Sunday. You may have some obligations. You may have church. I don't know. You may have work. You may have that big family get-together. I don't know. But, yeah, keep in mind, though, this show will be on demand beginning tomorrow. You can listen to it at mikebooty.com/The Midnight Citizen. You can watch the show here at youtube.com/MikeBooty. You can also listen on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, the Overnightscape Underground, OnSug, ONSUG.com. Yeah. But if you're going to stick around just for a little bit tonight, thank you so much. Drop something in there in the chat to let me know that you're listening. And if you have anything you want to say, whatever. But yeah, I'm going to be up for a little while, and I'm looking forward to sharing this exciting podcast with you, the Midnight Citizen episode number 229. So yeah. All right, without further ado, let's get to the show. Hey. Just testing. We're on the beach here at Amelia Island in Florida. You having a good time? Having a great time. Watching those aren't seagulls. The Jonathan Livingston seagull. Sure. Oh man, one of them just flew off to go find him a better wife. Oh. There he goes. I've got my Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil book. Are you going to read something?
Huh?
Are you going to read something?
Probably.
Yeah. It's crazy. I went through this, all the sound that's on this audio card.
Yeah.
And found, like, I heard clips of my students from like 3 years ago.
Oh, really?
A lot of them are who are like seniors, about to be seniors. They sound so young. Alright, I just wanted to test this audio to see how it works on the beach, which is really loud. This is with the makeshift windscreen, which is really just this little nylon bag for a lens cap, or a lens. And this is without the windscreen. Oh my gosh. Wow, that makes a real difference. Wow. Your husband's very smart. Well, I forgot my windscreen at home, and so I had to make do with one, and I was basically just going to get some paper towels, but I found this lens bag in here.
There you go.
So it works just as well, so I'm very proud of myself. Okay. All right, bye. It's about 1:15 midnight right now on a Thursday evening. I guess Friday morning. And I'm a much wiser man than I was about 2 hours ago. Yeah, my wife and I got back to our hotel room a little while ago, and we had had a whole day. We drove from Savannah, Georgia to down here to Amelia Island, Florida, which really isn't that bad of a drive. It's about a 2-hour drive. So the drive wasn't bad at all. The travel day, not at all bad. But we've, been out all day driving around the island because we only have one night here. We've been on vacation all week long and in Savannah, Georgia, visiting my mother-in-law and going around and seeing the sights and just having a good time. And we decided that we wanted to extend it a night, as we often do on vacations. We're just having too good of a time, and my wife and I like to be spur of the moment on our vacations, and we just kind of look around and, is there anything else we can do, any place nearby that we can go? And we looked at this place called Amelia Island, Florida. And I'm a little bit familiar with Amelia Island. I've been here once before with my family. In 1995, I believe it was. So, quite a long time ago. That was like, 27 years ago? Is that right? 2005, 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. That's 26 years ago. Right. So I virtually really remember nothing about that trip at all. I remember being in the hotel a lot, but it was okay because we were at this basically full-service hotel. It was right there on the beach, and they had a pool and they had a television, so that's pretty much all you need when you're like 12 years old and you're at the beach. So I looked at Amelia Island with my wife the other day, on the idea that maybe we would leave Savannah Thursday morning, and it would only take us 2 hours to drive down to Amelia Island. Then we've got like the whole day to explore, and then we'll, kind of check out of whatever hotel we stay in the next day, and explore a little bit more of the island, maybe go to the beach or something before we disembark on our 7-hour drive back home to Birmingham, Alabama. And so I started looking at hotels, and I found this one really nice hotel, the one, the balcony of which I'm sitting on right now. It's called the Florida House Inn, and it had a lot of really good reviews. When you're going to pay money for a hotel, you do want to read reviews, and a lot of people seem to like it. A lot of people seem to say that it's haunted. It is indeed. Well, it says on the website that it's like the oldest operating hotel in Florida. And I have no way of knowing if that's true or not. Not oldest hotel, but oldest operating hotel. Like, so it's been continuously operating for something like 180 years or whatever. And in Florida, everything claims to be the oldest this, the oldest that, because, you've got St. Augustine, Florida, which I believe is the oldest settlement in the States. I believe that's right? Settled by the Spanish in something like 1500, whatever, So there's a lot of old, places that purported to be the oldest, like the oldest operating hotel, the oldest operating, like, lighthouse, fire station, pizza parlor, I don't know, veterinary clinic, everything. So anyway, we're staying in a place that claims to be the oldest operating hotel in America. Did I say Florida? No, America, like all of America. Okay, so and so they of course they claim that it's haunted, and my wife and I were intrigued because my wife kind of believes in that stuff. I really don't. It just makes me paranoid. The idea that ghosts could exist. I don't really want to do anything to, like, irritate them. So we this is a very long story, but whatever. This is the Midnight Citizen Show. And by the way, this is the Midnight Citizen Show you're listening to. I'm your host, Mike Booty, doing a field show here, talking about my travels this week through Georgia and, northeastern Florida, right? So, yeah, we come back after a very long day. We end up going to the beach. 2 beaches, actually. We go to the one beach that we end up laying on, and, we play in the ocean a little bit, and we, sit there and read our books and all that. And then we decide to go to another beach and just walk on it for a really long time. We had a really nice time. Then we went and ate pizza, not at the oldest operating pizza parlor, but just a pizza parlor, And we came back here. We go into our room, we're kind of settling in, and I tell my wife, I'm about to go out and, have a cigar and probably, do a podcast. This is a couple of years ago, a couple of hours ago. Okay. Like I said, it's been a very long day, and excuse my my fragmented speech, but so I tell my wife I'm just going to go to the bathroom first, okay? So I go into the bathroom and everything goes okay in there. And then I use the sink, and the sink starts, notice it's not draining, right? So we've got a clog. And normally in any other hotel, this isn't really such a big deal. You go to the front desk or you call the front desk. There's usually a phone in your room, and, you get somebody to help you. You get maintenance to help you or whatever, and they come up and they take care of it. No problem at all. It's a little bit inconvenience, but ultimately no problem. Well, this hotel, there's no phone in my room, so I can't call the front desk. So I have to, put my shoes on, and I go down to the front desk, go down the stairs. There's no elevator, so I go down the stairs, and I go to the front desk. And the front desk, there's a big closed door. It's closed. There's nobody there. And I start searching around in the hotel for somebody, and literally nobody is here. This is just basically one big house. There's a bunch of rooms, and there's a front desk. That's the only place. The front desk is the only place where somebody who works in the hotel, might be at midnight. And so here I am, with a plumbing issue in a single, bedroom suite with only one bathroom, and there's nobody to help me. Okay. So I look on the window of the office door. What happens if I have an emergency? So thankfully, there is a number for after hours emergencies. Please call Ernie, and they give Ernie's number. I'm almost willing to give Ernie's number out on the podcast right now so you can call him, but I'm not going to do that. I'm so mad at Ernie right now because I get Ernie's voicemail and the voicemail is full. So not only does he not answer the phone, but the voicemail is full. I text him. I get no reply back. Meanwhile, I'm still calling him over and over again, basically trying to just get him to pick up. And all the while I'm doing this, by the way, I'm searching every square inch of this hotel for a plunger. Because I just want to take care of this problem myself, so, you know, I could just go out and have a cigar and do a podcast, right? So I'm searching every square inch of this hotel. And meanwhile, I'm thinking that this hotel is supposed to be haunted. So I'm kind of nervous, you know, if this were, I mean, it really does feel like The Shining. You know, I'm searching through like a big empty hotel. There may be other guests staying here, but I have not seen anyone. It's just my wife and I. I'm making so much racket that I would expect somebody to come out and tell me to be quiet, but nobody does. And, whoa. There's a bar next door. The bar will come into the story in just a minute, by the way. So so I'm like walking through this hotel, and meanwhile I'm opening up all these doors, trying to find like some kind of a maintenance closet where like a plunger might be. Every door is locked except for one. I open this one door, and it's not a maintenance closet. It's a gigantic bar and restaurant. Again, it's like in The Shining. I go into this gigantic bar in this restaurant. There's a big empty bar area with every single kind of liquor right there in front of me. Like, I almost want to like touch a bottle just to see if it's real. And I almost expect like Lloyd the bartender to be like sitting there ready to like pour me, you know, like a bourbon or something like that, which I gladly would have accepted because I don't think I'm an alcoholic like Jack Torrance, but I am a teacher. Like, Jack Torrance was a teacher, right? I know he wanted to be a writer, but he was a teacher first and foremost. And I think most teachers want to secretly be writers. Anyway, I know I do. So, I'm really surprised that every single door in this hotel is closed except this gigantic bar and restaurant. So I start searching the bar and restaurant, opening up doors in there. I go into the bathroom. The men's bathroom, the women's bathroom, there's no plunger to be found. I go into the kitchen area, like I go into the grill area. Major health code violation, I'm sure, just looking for a plunger. And I'm thankfully there's no plunger there. That would have been really disgusting if there was a plunger in like the kitchen. And then I find the maintenance area. I find the maintenance room with like a washer, dryer, all the linens, the clean and the dirty linens, all the stuff for cleaning the bathrooms. There's no plunger there. And all the while I'm kind of like, my senses are really opening up, and I'm just kind of like starting to get really paranoid because, again, I do not really believe in ghosts, but I'm also not ruling out the possibility that they could exist. Okay? So my senses are like opening up, and I'm just walking all over this hotel room. And meanwhile, by the way, you know, my wife is just kind of like waiting around and really kind of paranoid about staying in this room because, like, if the sink is, you know, plugging up, God knows what else could happen with our plumbing. And, you know, we would like to clean ourselves, take a shower. You know, we're covered in sand and grime from a day of going to the beach, not to mention, you know, driving around, and it's very hot here in Florida. I mean, it's, you know, mid-July. It's like humid as all get out. We're just covered in all sorts of everything. And we just need to take a shower. You know, but we got to get this issue solved first. And, you know, every once in a while, I'm picking up the phone. I'm calling Ernie. There's no reply at all. His mailbox was full. I text him again. I say, Ernie, I'm not mad. Just please call me. Just, we need your help, please. Okay. You know. So I just realized, you know, there's no plunger in this hotel. There's like all of this liquor, but there's no plunger. So I figure, you know, if I'm going to solve this issue, I'm going to have to like get in the car and just go find a store. So I get in my car and I go down the main drag of Amelia Island, going gas station to gas station. None of them sell plungers. I ask them, finally, is there an open grocery store on the island? And they say, no, they're all closed. I'm like, God damn it. And finally, like a mirage on the horizon, I see the signs, the lights of a Walmart, and I'm like, oh my God, if this Walmart is open, I will never say a single bad thing about Walmart ever again. You know, and you may be saying to yourself, like, why are you freaking out over a clogged sink, Mike? It's no big deal. But, you know, I'm freaking out over it because there's no other bathroom in this hotel except the one that's in the closed bar and grill downstairs, you know? And, you know, I'm sorry, but, you know, you just kind of like expect when you get a hotel, especially for like as much as we paid for it for the night, you know, you would like everything to kind of function properly. And I just do not want to go to sleep with like a clogged up sink, right? So I go to this Walmart and it's open with 10 minutes to spare. I go in and they said, like, I don't know if you have time to get anything. We close in 10 minutes. I'm like, tell me where the plungers is and I'll be out of your hair. Okay. So they show me where the plungers are. I check out. I'm like, great, this problem is solved. I've unclogged plenty of sinks before with a plunger. I know exactly what to do. I'm going to go in. I'm going to unclog it. It's done, right? So I come back to the hotel. I go up to the stairs. I go into my hotel room. I say to my wife, like I'm going off to battle, you wait here. And I give her a kiss. And I go in there. I make the matters worse. The sink floods, and pretty soon it's over flooding onto the tile. Pretty soon, the bathroom is flooded. I'm like, okay, now genuinely, we cannot stay here for the night. I call Ernie again. No response. I text him again. I'm like, Ernie, I swear, please, whatever you think I'm going to do right now. I'm not mad. I'm not upset. I just need your help. Please call me back. Like I'm praying to Saint Ernie right now. You know, the god of the after hours plumbing emergencies, the patron saint of the sink and the toilet and the shower, right? So no response. I tell my wife to abandon ship, and we go down into the common area of this dark, silent hotel. And we're sitting there, and my wife all the while is just, you know, she's already started looking for other places on the island. But the thing about being on an island in Florida in the middle of July is that there's no place to stay. Every place is booked up, okay? While she's doing that, I go out for some fresh air. Just trying to, like, pull myself back together, to calm myself down. And I notice that there is indeed a bar next door, full of all this bustling activity and all these drunk people and these couples. There's like a couple getting into a fight on the street. And, you know, it's a real towny bar. I don't think there are any locals, or I don't think there are any tourists there. It's like a locals bar. And so, you know, I walk over there and I go in there, and I'm the only one who isn't shit-faced. except for the bartender. And I go up to the bartender and I, tell her what the situation is. We have a clogged sink next door. Do you, by chance, have any contact information for the person who owns the place or the person? I don't even have to finish my sentence. Like, she just puts a finger up in the air. She's like, just give me a second. It's almost like she's saying to me subconsciously or subtextually, this has happened before. Don't worry about it. Actually, it happens all the time. Okay. So, she goes and gets the phone and she dials a number, and I'm surprised that the phone isn't like red or something, like she's calling like Batman or something like that. And pretty soon this guy, like this real, bro looking dude who looks like he just goes to the gym like all the freaking time, with a backwards hat, comes in. He says, "Hey man, what can I do for you?" I tell him what the problem is, and he takes his baseball cap and he like turns it around and, so it's facing backwards, and he's like, "Let's go." So I follow him next door to my hotel, and we go up the back stairs, the back way, and we go into the back entrance and go into my room, and he's just like, "You wait downstairs with your wife." I have no idea who this guy is. It's not Ernie. He doesn't sound like Ernie, right? Ernie sounded in all his voicemails or something like this. Like, this is beyond Ernie, This is the guy that you have to call when all other channels fail, right? This is like the vigilante. Okay? So my wife and I are waiting down there, and he comes down like 5 minutes later, and he's like, "You're good to go." And I just asked the guy, like, I'm waiting at any moment for him to just like throw down like a smoke pellet and just disappear into the ether. And no, he's like, I was like, "Do you work for the hotel?" And he's like, "No, man, I don't work for the hotel. I actually work for the bar next door." And I'm like, "Well, like, man, I'm so sorry that you had to like leave your job to come over here." He's like, "No, man, we just help each other out down here. That's the way it is." I'm like, "Man, that's really cool. I still just think it sucks that, you have to, like, I would have never, figured out to come over to you in the first place. Like, I had to go to Walmart, and I was trying to solve this problem, by myself for like 2 hours before I finally got in touch with you." He's like, "It's no worries, man. Listen, man, I'm going to call the hotel in the morning, try to talk to him about your rate. I don't think you're going to have to worry about it." And then he threw down a smoke pellet and disappeared into the ether. Not really, but so yeah. Yeah, the way my wife and I came to stay at this place, like, we were just going to stay at like a Hampton Inn or a Marriott or something like that, someplace that maybe had a little bit more of a, manageable day rate. But I had all these points on my credit card, There's this guy on there's this financial guru named Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey always tells you to not use credit cards. He says credit cards are the devil. When you use a credit card, there's no, pain associated with swiping a credit card. You don't have this feeling of like losing money like you do when you pay cash. So just always pay cash, always use a debit card and all that stuff. But I actually find that when I use a credit card, I accumulate all these points, and I only, put charges on a credit card that I can afford anyway, that I would be, buying anyway with cash. So, after about a year or so of doing this, I accumulate enough points to, stay the night in a pretty decent, 4-star, 5-star hotel. And so I realized the other day that my wife and I, when we come down to Amelia Island, we don't have to stay at like, a Marriott or something like that, even though those are nice. I'm not knocking Marriotts, but I'm like, we can stay at something, with a little bit more character. So we decide to stay on like the oldest operating hotel in America. Whatever this place is called, the Florida House Inn, right? So we stay at the Florida House Inn. And the thing about it is like when you, next time you're like looking at something and it purports to be the oldest this or the oldest that, you have to think about the infrastructure of that. You know, I'm not saying that they're still using like the same pipes that they were in like the 1840s. You know, but they're still pretty old, right? So I will definitely think about that next time I stay at a place like this. So, yeah. Yeah, I've let me relight my cigar here. It's gone. It went out a long time ago. I don't know. It's like that bar is closed next door. Everybody's going home. It's quiet. Yeah, well, my wife and I got here a few weeks, a few months, a few hours ago. From a day of, beach stuff. There was a live band playing out here. They were playing like, I don't know, like bar band standards. Like they were playing the Wallflowers, One Headlight. When we pulled up, and we could definitely hear like in between songs the lead singer of the band was like giving trivia. And he was like, "Did you guys know that the guy who wrote that song, Jacob Dylan, he's Bob Dylan's son?" I don't know. I said at the beginning of that story that I'm much wiser right now than I was about 3 hours ago, before all the business with the sink happened. And you may ask, why is that? I mean, you just dealt with a clogged sink. And you found out that sometimes, you have to go above the law or above and beyond, to fix it, when nobody else is there to help you. That's not really the lesson. The reason I think like I'm wise enough to never ever come to Amelia Island, Florida again, and the reason being is not because, we had this issue with our room flooding this time, but the fact that the last time that I stayed here with my family in 1995, the exact same thing happened. Like, I'm not kidding. In 1995, my family came down here to Amelia Island, Florida. My dad had every summer in late June, early July, my dad had a conference with work that he had to go to. And there was a string of about 3 or 4 years there where he would bring us to his conferences. So I remember one year we went to San Francisco. I think that was in 1996. And that was the really big trip. We flew out there and stayed for like a week. One year we went to New York City. That was the first time I ever went to New York City. But 1995 was down here to Amelia Island. And we stayed in a really nice hotel. Like I said, they had a TV, a pool, and a beach. So I don't really remember anything else about that trip other than like going to the beach and laying by the pool and watching a lot of Nick at Night. And I remember also watching Wimbledon. Wimbledon was on television. The big tennis match they have every year. And we stayed in a room on the second floor. And I remember this very well because I remember I actually climbed. I was 12 or was it like 1995. So I would have been, 12 going on 13. And I was a little, 12-year-old brat. I was kind of a daredevil, and I loved to do like weird things and, climb on trees and things like that. And I realized that there was actually a way for me to climb down to the first floor via like a trellis that went up and down the 13 story hotel. I don't think like the trellis connected every single floor. I think it like maybe went 2 or 3 stories up, and then there was like a gap. There was like a little railing, and then it continued. So I don't think you could actually get, climb all the way up the 13 stories. But I got on this like trellis, and I just climbed down to the first floor. And so I remember that. That was like the first day that we stayed there, and my parents got like really mad at me. And then I remember our bathroom flooded. I don't know if it was like the sink or the toilet or whatever happened, but our bathroom flooded, and we had to move floors, and we had to move. Like I think my dad said like to them, can we move to a much higher floor? One where my son cannot, climb all the way down. So we did that. And I just think like, these two incidences spaced, 26 years apart, the universe is trying to tell me something. Stay away from this place. This place is not for you. Amelia Island, Florida. All you'll find here is heartache, right? So, yeah. Yeah, that was a weird trip, coming down to Amelia Island with my family in 1995. I did think it was 1996 initially, but I was talking to my sister the other day, my little sister, and she said, no, it was 95 because 96 was when we went to San Francisco, and we remembered that because that movie The Rock was coming out, that big action movie with like Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage that takes place on Alcatraz. So like that was a really big movie that summer. So like we were talking about going to San Francisco and seeing The Rock when it actually opened, and then going out to Alcatraz the next day. We did not go to see that movie because it was like an R-rated movie, and my parents didn't want me seeing it. Thought I'd be scared or something. I don't know. But yeah, Amelia Island was 1995, and I remember I had gotten like the Olympics were happening the next year in Atlanta, and it was a really big deal. Like the entire country of America, and especially like the South was really excited because in 1865, General Sherman came down and burned down Atlanta at the end of the Civil War. And a little over a century later, they're having the world's biggest sporting event there. So, it was a pretty big coup for the South. We were really excited. And I'd gotten this like a toy in the gift shop. Like my mom had bought me like this. Like they came out with like this mascot for the 1996 Olympic Games. It was like a little dot. It wasn't like a stuffed animal. It was like a blue dot or something like that. I don't know what it was, but I think the thing's name was like Izzy or something like that. Is that what it was? No, what is this thing? Like I've always wondered about this. And it just seems like the 1996 like Summer Olympic Games in Atlanta are just kind of like the black dog of Olympic Games. Like nobody ever talks about them, but when you go to Atlanta, like they want to make sure that that they happen there. Like the only thing that people seem to remember about the 1996 Olympic Games was the fact that there was a terrorist bombing there. Everybody thought it was this like fat security guard named Richard Jewell, but it wasn't. It was like this guy named Eric Robert Rudolph, who had also like bombed an abortion clinic in Birmingham across from like my favorite restaurant in Birmingham when I was in college. Anyway, okay, so like 96. I'm looking this up on my phone here, and I don't normally like to do this. I usually like to do my podcast with like all the information already in my brain, but yeah, I look it up. 96 Olympic bombing. That's the first thing that comes up. No, I don't want to know about that. I'm the Midnight Citizen here. I don't want to know about violent things. I want to know about, like innocent things like mascots. All right, 96 Olympic mascot. Yeah, there he is right there. His name was Izzy. I didn't know if I had named him Izzy myself when I got that little stuffed animal. Izzy was the official mascot of the Atlanta 1996 Summer Olympics, initially named What Is It? What Is It? At its introduction at the close of the 1992 Summer Olympics in Barcelona. Because, yeah, every year at the end of the Olympics, they announce where the next Olympics are going to be. The animated character with the ability to morph into different forms was a departure from the Olympic tradition in that it did not represent a nationally significant animal or human figure. Yeah, it was just like a thing. Created by John Ryan. Izzy. That's funny because I have a dog named Izzy. I have a basset hound named Izzy. There's that cute little... I mean, he's a cute little thing. There he is posing with Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich. Yeah. So I had this little stuffed animal that was the 1996 Olympic mascot named Izzy. And I remember I had that thing and I was just kind of, got it as like a souvenir, even though it didn't really represent a souvenir of my trip down here to Florida. But nevertheless, it represented like an important period of time in American history, which is, the 1996 Summer Olympic Games. And those Olympic Games were held all over the place. And I don't know if the games are generally like this wherever else they are. But they were kind of held all over the South, like not just in Atlanta. Like Atlanta was the home base, but they had events all over the place. Like they had kayaking and stuff like that on the Ocoee River, which is, runs outside of Atlanta. And then they had the soccer here in Birmingham, or not here in Birmingham, not in Birmingham right now, but in Birmingham. And I actually went to an Olympic soccer game at Legion Field. And even today, when you go to Legion Field in Birmingham, it says, home of the 1996 Summer Olympic Games. And I suspect it will say that until the place is eventually, demolished and torn down. But anyway. So that was the last time I was here, was 26 years ago. And the circumstances have not really changed that much. Like, I'm a little bit older and I'm married, but I'm still dealing with like a flooded bathroom. And just like that, I'm home. Home from vacation. My wife and I got back into town about 4 hours ago or so. Began the long, arduous process of settling back in, which is something that you try not to think about, when you go on vacation. You try to put it out of your mind and just enjoy yourself. But, a day or so before you come back home, you start to think about everything that you have to get back into, Like we had to go pick up the dogs from the parents. They could not keep them another night, so we had to go get Izzy and Zoe, the basset hounds, and we had to go to the grocery store because we had like nothing to eat here. We came home, we had to like unpack. I had to do laundry because I had like really no clean clothes to wear that were like suitable for lounging around. So yeah, it was a lot. I just kind of had to think of the whole thing in phases. You know, like phase 1, come into town. Phase 2, pick up the pets, the dogs. Phase 3, unpack. Phase 4, go to the liquor store because I have no liquor. And I'm definitely going to want to watch some whiskey later. You know, phase 5, take a shower. Anyway. Yeah, we kind of left Amelia Island like we were evacuating today. As a matter of fact, you know, in Florida, you follow highways that just all say evacuation routes, you know, in case of hurricane or something like that, or tsunami. And, you know, we were following the evacuation route today. Just coming back from Amelia Island. I woke up at about 7 o'clock this morning. I got virtually no sleep last night. After I came in from recording that little piece of audio you just heard. Just, you know, could not sleep. And, because I was just like so irritated by the whole experience. You know, the idea that I had to go next door to the bar and get the guy, the general manager, you know, to help me out with my sink. And this morning, you know, my wife and I, we decided to, you know, go get breakfast. Just like go and sit someplace nice. And we found like a nice little breakfast restaurant and sat out there by the lake. And as we were there having our eggs and our coffee, I get a text, and it's Ernie. You know, the wayward maintenance man, the after-hours emergency guy, saying, I'm so sorry. You know, I spoke to Lawrence, who I guess is the general manager, who helped me out last night. Said I spoke to Lawrence. He said everything was resolved. I'll try to get you a $50 credit for the inconvenience. So... So I, you know, there's this whole thing that I kind of wrestled with, this just dilemma of like, I could, at 9 o'clock when the place opens, when somebody is actually there at the hotel, I can call them and, you know, demand not $50 back, but my entire fee, because it just was, the whole episode really did soil the experience of staying at that hotel. But I just decided not to. I just decided, like, listen, if they can get me the $50 back, whatever. But, I mean, at the same time, I may feel completely differently tomorrow. I mean, it's been a long day, and I may wake up tomorrow just wanting justice, you know? And, I mean, I worked hard to, you know, accumulate the points to get that hotel, and I just basically kind of wasted them on like on an inn that was just run improperly. And so I really don't know, but at the same time, I kind of just want to put the whole episode behind me and just think about the good times we had on vacation. And we did have some good times. We did have some good times on this vacation. I'm not going to lie. We'll talk about it in a minute. Yeah, we got out of there so quickly today that it kind of it did spoil one last thing that I wanted to do on vacation. I wanted to go to a Denny's restaurant for breakfast. And not because I really like Denny's. In fact, I never eat there ever. All the Denny's restaurants in the world can close down tomorrow, and I wouldn't know. You know, Denny's is like, I don't know, it's kind of like IHOP or Waffle House. You know, just these places that have a big, just disgusting menu of cholesterol and starches and all that. And their signature dish is called the Grand Slam breakfast, which is so gross. the way that sounds. I don't think of baseball when I think of the Grand Slam breakfast. But it was an inside joke, though. That's why I wanted to go to Denny's. It was an inside joke with my family because to this day, when my family and we talk about Amelia Island, Florida, you know, we don't talk about the beach or the pool or sitting there, you know, at the TV, in front of the TV watching like Wimbledon or Nick at Night, you know, watching like Mr. Ed and the Mary Tyler Moore Show and all that. We talk about Denny's, and this is because, well, they talk about Denny's and me climbing out of the window onto the first floor. But anyway, I talked about that already. Yeah, when we came down to Amelia Island, Florida, like that first day from Birmingham, we were really hungry, and it was very late, and I'm sure my parents just were not happy with like a carload of, you know, kids who were starving. And so we pulled into the first place. My dad pulled into the first halfway decent looking place, which was a Denny's. And we went to Denny's just kind of, no, we don't want to eat Denny's, you know, and my parents are, you know, kind of looking for something a little bit better, more classy, I guess. I don't know. And we eat at Denny's, and we cannot stop talking about how good that meal was. And I think it's just because we were so hungry. You know, when you're that hungry and when you've been in the car for 8 hours, not really eating much, you know, anything is great. So Denny's at like 9 o'clock in the evening was just a godsend to us. And so we loved Denny's. And so we get to our hotel and we check in and we go on up, and I do my thing where I climb out the window, and the next day we all wake up and my dad goes off to his conference because, you know, as I said before, he was there for work. And so my mom is left with, you know, 3 kids to take care of and entertain for the day. And the first decision of many that she has to make that day is, you know, what do we need to do for breakfast? And I guess there's like there's like restaurants on the property, but ultimately what she decides to do, and what we are totally okay with, is she says, let's just go back to Denny's. And we're like, yay! So my mom piles us into the minivan, and we start looking for this Denny's. And of course, this is 1995. It's not like this is a million years ago, but you know, this is in the days before, you know, smartphones and GPS and TomToms and all that stuff. And my mom just has like her memory to go on to get us back to, you know, Denny's. And it seems pretty obvious, like on an island, most islands, they just have like a straightaway, and you get on it and you basically just retrace your steps and go, you know, several miles back the way you came, and you should hit like a Denny's. And we disembarked from the hotel at about 9:30 in the morning, thinking that we're going to be back at Denny's in maybe like, you know, 30 minutes or so. And meanwhile, we're passing probably like all these perfectly reasonable breakfast places along the way that serve the exact same meal, just with a different name. And, you know, 10 o'clock comes and my mom doesn't see the Denny's, and we're at the place where we think it should be, and, you know, there's just no Denny's. And she turns around and retraces her steps, and maybe this time she takes a right instead of going straight ahead. No Denny's. Take a left, retrace your steps, go back more, you know, like another 5 miles or so. No Denny's. Before you know it, it's 10:30, 11 o'clock, and finally 11:30, we find this Denny's. You know, things look a lot differently in the light of day than they do at like 9 o'clock at night. And so by this time, you know, I'm sure that we're just all insufferable in the back seat. And my mom is tired, and she's worn down. And we pull into the parking lot of this Denny's like we've just kind of like, you know, traipsed in from the desert. And the poor waitress, like we go into the Denny's and my mom goes up to the hostess, and the hostess has like a big smile on her face, like, "Hello, can I treat you to a Grand Slam breakfast today?" And my mom says, "How dare you? We have been looking for this restaurant for the last 2.5 hours. We want a table right now." And that's what we talk about to this day. So I really wanted to find this Denny's, and that is the thing about these places, is that, you know, these chain restaurants, they stay open for years. So 26 years later, I'm probably sure that this, you know, Denny's is probably still around. But again, my wife and I just want to get out of there so bad, and I have no time for inside jokes. So, but I do just think about that memory. It's like the last time that I was leaving this island, it was in distress. Again, I don't think I'm ever coming back to this Amelia Island ever again. In Florida, I just remember after that episode with the Denny's, my mom took us back to the hotel room, and you know, we were gonna go to the beach and all that, but we just like kind of, you know, collapsed on the bed and watched Wimbledon. Watched tennis. So yeah. So, but yeah, it's Friday night here, and it's crazy to think, you know, we went to Savannah. We left for Savannah on Monday. Somebody's listening to the Doors out there. We're on the road. I was listening to the Doors really loudly. God dang, it's loud. Yeah. So Savannah, I kind of think of as like my second city in a way. I think I've probably visited Savannah, Georgia, probably more than any other American city. Washington, D.C., I think comes close. I've been to Washington, D.C. many times, but Savannah, Georgia, I've been to a lot, especially since I've, well, the first time I ever went there was with my wife, because my mother-in-law lives there. And, you know, she's set up a nice life for herself out there, and, you know, she does a lot of work. She's an acting teacher, and she kind of has this very tight-knit network of actors that she works with over there. And she just kind of knows everybody. My mother-in-law, G. Marie. And really this week was just kind of like a week of her just plugging connections to get us to do really cool things. And I really do have to give her a lot of credit. Normally when my wife and I go on vacation, whether it be to like Chicago or Niagara Falls or Wisconsin, you know, we're just kind of planning everything that we do day to day. But whenever you go to Savannah, you know, G. Marie just kind of plans everything for you. And it is kind of nice to have somebody else just like be your concierge and tell you, you know, and it's not like she's forcing us to do these things, but we're very grateful to have her help. And we've definitely, you know, just turned her down a few times. Like, no, we think we'd rather do this. And I really do appreciate it. But, you know, but we go to Savannah, and she sets us up in this really nice bed and breakfast, which, yes, is like the oldest operating bed and breakfast in Savannah. Only the plumbing is better there. It's called, it's just called the Savannah Bed and Breakfast. It's right there in Chatham Square, you know. And she sets us up in this place for 3 nights, and it's just beautiful. She does it. It's a birthday present for my wife, who just had her birthday a couple weeks ago. So this is like a belated present. My wife was working on her birthday, so this is the first time we could get away. So yeah, we went to this nice Savannah bed and breakfast, and got this nice room and had this gigantic porch. So each night after we would do our thing, we would come home and Jessica joined me one night, but most of the time I just sit outside on the back porch and and I had the porch completely to myself. Nobody else came out at night. I guess because it was so humid. But I don't know, you're just in Savannah. And it's your vacation. I never understand people who just want to like go in to their hotel at the end of the day. I love being outside, especially at night after a long day. And having like some whiskey and I bought some cigars. I bought some really nice pipe tobacco. So just sitting out there each night, just enjoying the evening, even though it was very humid, So, but yeah, we just enjoyed, most of all, just walking around the streets of Savannah. It's just an absolutely gorgeous, beautiful city. It's probably like the most beautiful planned city that I've ever visited. In terms of just like, in the 1950s, I think the place was essentially a slum. A lot of the historic buildings, that have been there since like, some of them since the 1700s had just been completely, forgotten. And they've just fallen into a state of disrepair. And then people started stepping in and just, chipping in and buying all these old buildings and restoring them bit by bit. And now it's just got one of the most well-preserved historic districts in America, if not the world. One of the oldest buildings in the entire country that's still standing is in Savannah. It's the Pirate's Inn, or the Pirate House. It's been there since 1680, something like that. And I've had dinner in it. It's a beautiful place. I'm sure it looks nothing like it used to, but it's actually mentioned in Robert Louis Stevenson's Treasure Island. It's the house where the pirate comes from at the beginning of the novel, who ends up giving the map to the protagonist of how to get to Treasure Island. So, Billy Bones, or whatever his name is. It's been years since I've read Treasure Island, but yeah, you can't really walk anywhere in Savannah, go into any shop or talk to anyone without one thing inevitably being mentioned, and that's the book that was later turned into the movie that was directed by Clint Eastwood, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. I really don't know of any other book in the history of books that has probably done more for one city's tourism industry than Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. And indeed, when you like look for, a tour to go on in Savannah, which, you kind of have to be a tourist in this place. It's just too nice. You pass too many cool things not to have the desire to walk around with somebody who can interpret it all for you. Everything is kind of named after Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil tour. There's the John Burt tour. I think that's how you say his name. He's the guy who wrote the book. There's the Beyond Good and Evil tour. There's the Jim Williams tour, And it's just, everything has to do with this book that was published in 1994. And, individual real-life people who made their way into that book are celebrities in their own right. Specifically, the Lady Chablis, the transgender drag performer who's featured heavily in that book, and she just died a few years ago. But yeah, it's like you go all over the place and you see pictures of her, you see her autobiography in every single store. She became a huge not just local celebrity, but national celebrity after the publication of that book. And I believe she actually played herself in the movie that came out in 1997. So, like, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, and I've read it once. I'm actually in the middle of reading it a second time. Is a book about Savannah. It started as a book just about kind of the local color and all the crazy characters, crazy kooky characters who live in Savannah. You know, that's how the author started out writing the book, is that he started moving down to Savannah, like living there and splitting his time between Savannah and New York City, where he was an editor, I think, for Esquire magazine. And he just came down and just found all these, goofy characters. I think that, like, John Cusack, who plays him in the movie, describes Savannah as like Gone with the Wind on mescaline. And it's kind of like that, it's like this weird southern city, but doesn't really follow a lot of southern traditions. Or I guess it does. It has like this, local Savannah, local southern color, but all the people are just slightly off kilter. Like there's the inventor who claims that he's going to poison Savannah's water supply because he has access to a very highly volatile poison. And he anesthetizes flies and ties strings to them and has them swarm around him. His neck, he like ties the strings to his coat. And there's like people like Joe, and this guy named Joe who always like moves from house to house. He's basically like a glorified squatter. Every time somebody goes out of town, he basically moves into their house and hijacks the electricity of the house next door. Things like that. And he has like all these creditors in town chasing him, but they all love him so much because he's just like this charismatic Southern gentleman, So, it's all well and good. And, I think that he could have had a very interesting book if it, even if it weren't for what really happened that made the book, a national bestseller for like 4 years straight and became this huge movie directed by Clint Eastwood, starring like John Cusack and Kevin Spacey, who I know has been like, canceled now, but anyway. So what happened was that there was this man named Jim Williams, who was indeed one of the people who, beginning in the 1950s, was fighting for the preservation of all of Savannah's historic district and all the old buildings that had fallen into disrepair and dilapidation. And he was new money, which was against the grain in Savannah. Savannah is a very old money city. The people who have had their money have been wealthy for generations. And Jim Williams seemed to come out of poverty from this small town in Georgia called Vidalia. And he started as a young child, like flipping antiques. Antiques is very, flipping antiques is very in vogue now. You get something that nobody really has any use for, you restore it, and then suddenly you sell it for a huge profit. Jim Williams was doing that when he was a kid. And so by the time he was in his 20s and 30s, he was a millionaire, and he moved to Savannah and took up the prospect of not only flipping antiques from all over the world, but also buying up houses in Savannah and restoring them. And two of the most famous ones were the house where he lived, called the Mercer, which is now called the Mercer Williams House. A lot of houses have that hyphenate there to signify who the original owner was and to signify who like the most famous or important owner was, I guess. And of course, Williams was Jim Williams, but the Mercer was the great grandfather of Johnny Mercer, the songwriter, who of course wrote many, many songs like Moon River, and one of my favorite songs, like the Long Goodbye, from one of my favorite Robert Altman movies. It's The Long Goodbye, and it happens every day. Yeah. So Johnny Mercer, his great-grandfather never actually lived in the house. That's like a lot of people misunderstand that. He built the house, but never got to live in it because of the Civil War. Kind of took him away from it, and I think he died before he could take up residence. But anyway. So Jim Williams bought this house and fixed it up, and now it's like a beautiful, ornate house, kind of at the heart of the historic district. You can take a tour of it. And of course, see all the nice, antiques and all that he took up and restored, and see the place as it was when he actually, when he died. But a lot of people like to tour the house because of what happened there. That really takes up the bulk of the novel, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. But I'll get to that in just a minute. The other house that he bought and fixed up is called the Pink House, or the Old Pink House, which is just one big pink house, but it's beautiful, and it's got a restaurant in it, and that's where my mother-in-law took us to eat the other night on our last night in Savannah. So anyway. Okay, so what happened in the Mercer Williams house? Okay, so there was this young stud named Danny Hansford. And Danny Hansford was like one of these good old boy southern rednecks who was shot dead in the Mercer Williams house by none other than Jim Williams. They were apparently in the middle of a big argument. What they were arguing about, nobody really knows. But by the end of it, Danny Hansford was dead, and Jim Williams was holding the gun, claiming that it was self-defense. And so Jim Williams was arrested and tried. And by the end of the whole saga, Jim Williams had been through 4 different separate murder trials in 4 different districts, and was eventually exonerated on the grounds of self-defense. Georgia is one of these like classic Southern stand your ground states. If you go into somebody's house yelling and screaming and threatening violence, and you get shot, well, 9 times out of 10, a jury is going to probably find you innocent or not guilty, right? So, and that's what the book is about. The book is about the trial. Of course, the movie condenses it all down into one trial, but I think what's most fascinating about the entire case is that it was, 4 separate trials, the most of any other murder trial in Georgia history. So, it was quite a landmark, and Jim Williams was eventually found not guilty. But by the end of it, of course, what's fascinating about the trial is that it brought out a lot of Savannah's kind of hidden prejudices, namely against homosexuals. Savannah is kind of thought to be a cradle of progressivism in an otherwise very conservative state. But the jury kept on, coming back as essentially finding the homosexual nature of Jim Williams' relationship with Danny Hansford problematic, and just not being able to square themselves with the fact that they were, letting a known homosexual off of a murder rap. So it's a very interesting cultural study of a town that purports to be very progressive and ahead of its time, when in fact it's really not, So, but yeah, the novel, the nonfiction novel is very good. It came out in 1994, and it is really responsible for not just bringing Savannah to international attention, but reviving it as just one of the premier tourist destinations in the South. And today, when you go there, there's a ton of tourism. You can't go 5 seconds without seeing a trolley driving by, the Mercer Williams house, or seeing namely like a ghost tour. There, are a ton of ghost tours, because Savannah is said time and time and again by paranormal investigators to be the most haunted, town in the entire country. And I have no idea how they rank these things, but people believe that Savannah is very haunted. Namely because it's, one of the oldest cities in the United States. And the town has suffered, numerous massive tragedies throughout its, 400-year history. Namely several fires, It actually managed to escape the Civil War fairly unharmed. And it's actually kind of a funny story because, during, when General Sherman came down from the north to burn Atlanta and basically just tear ass through the South, eventually coming to my hometown of Birmingham and burning down all the iron furnaces and everything, they went to Savannah with the intention of burning the place to the ground because it was a major, port for the Confederacy. It was an incredibly strategic area, for them to, ship supplies back and forth and all that. And the founders of Savannah cared so much about their town that they essentially, convinced the military there to ride out to the edge of town and confront Sherman's troops and basically saying, like, listen, we'll surrender unconditionally. Just do not burn everything that we've worked for to the ground. And, and I guess, probably back in the day, that was a controversial decision because that's not a very manly stance. You're supposed to stay and fight, right? But no, they really cared about what they had there in Savannah. It was a very special place. And so, the Yankees agreed. They're like, okay, fine, just let us take over your town and we won't touch a thing. So they came down, right? But no, mostly, there were a lot of fires, but, just a lot of death. Savannah was a notoriously violent town, a very criminally violent town. They have these tunnels underneath River Street, which today is the really big tourist thoroughfare in Savannah, where all of the, fudge shops and Christmas tree shops and the novelty t-shirt shops are. Where you can go if you don't really want to learn anything. You just want to eat dribbly food and say that you visited Savannah. But underneath River Street are a bunch of tunnels, and I guess back in the pirate days, the pirates would kind of run this scam where, they would bring unsuspecting people into the bars and give them a lot to drink, and then they would poison them essentially. And when the drinkers were, woke up, they would be on the ship. They would be on a pirate ship. They would be slaves. And that's called being shanghaied. So I guess it comes from the Far East or something. But yeah, the most notable thing though is when you walk around in Savannah, you're walking around, the streets are very uneven and you're walking over bumps constantly. Specifically past cemeteries. And that's because the cemeteries, the gates of the cemeteries are really just there for decorative purposes. Really, the entire town is a cemetery. It's built on top of just graves. People are buried everywhere in Savannah. And so that's why people say that it's very haunted, but so I don't know. Again, like I was saying last night, I don't really believe in ghosts. But I also, at the same time, I don't know, I kind of think of it as my belief in God. I'm not an atheist. I think I am an agnostic. I think that there are things that are going on in this world that are just beyond our understanding. There are parallel dimensions. There are parallel beings. Call them time travelers, call them God. I don't know. Call them ghosts. I don't want to piss them off, so I just kind of try to maintain my respect, I know that I talk against religion quite a lot, especially on a podcast that I did a couple of weeks ago called Skip the Preach and Go to the Beach. But primarily, I'm not really against God. If he or she or it does exist, I'm just against the jerk-offs that represent him. I don't like those people really that much at all. I mean, they're just kind of... They're just kind of a drag, okay? Same kind of goes for like people who believe in ghosts, like, and really try to make contact with ghosts. Like, it's not that I necessarily am denying the existence of ghosts. They may exist or they may not exist. It's like just these people who go into these places and try to make contact with them really bug me. They bother me quite a lot, you know. But I am curious, and I'm going to maintain an open mind. So, you know, whenever I go to Savannah with my wife, I do go on ghost tours because my wife really likes this stuff. And, you know, my wife and I, we really do like, you know, horror movies, and we like ghost stories and things like that. Things that kind of send a chill up your spine. You know, I like that stuff. It's entertaining, right? Even though I don't necessarily believe in it. So we do go on these ghost tours, and we went on one the other night to this place called the Sorrel-Weed House, which is said to be, you know, like the most haunted, you know, location in Savannah, which is supposed to imply, you know, this is the most haunted place in the most haunted place in the world, or in the United States. Okay. So it's like, if you're going to see activity, you're going to see it here, right? And, you know, this is actually the second time we've gone on this tour. My wife and I went, the last time we went to Savannah about 3 years ago, or was it 4 years ago? Yeah, I think it was 4 years ago. We went to this place called the Sorrel-Weed House, and we like this place because it's the only tour that you can do in Savannah, a ghost tour, that's not like taking you around on a trolley, or you're not walking around from like bar to bar buying a bunch of beer. You know, it's like they do these pub crawls, these haunted pub crawls. You know, it's just like this one place that gives you pretty good access to just, even if you don't believe in the ghost, it's like a really amazing house. I mean, it was built in the 1830s. And it's got, you know, period furniture. I don't know if it's original furniture or not, but it's just a really cool house to walk through. And it's always stuck in my mind, and it's always something that I've wanted to do. Again, is walk through the Sorrel-Weed House in Savannah, Georgia. So, you know, yeah, so we go through this house, and this time I bring my recorder. I actually recorded the entire hour-long tour, which I will, I think I'll play that. Like, once I'm done talking and all that, I'll put it on here as kind of a bonus podcast on this recording. It'll be like the B-side, so you can listen to it. Because it is a very entertaining tour, and they do encourage people to bring recorders because they want to try to capture, they want them to try and capture like EVPs, you know, these electronic voice phenomenon. The idea that if you've got a recorder and there are things that you cannot hear with the naked ear, you know, there's something that your recorder or your phone or your camera will be able to pick up, so they encourage it. And they want you to release it. So I'll release it just for entertainment purposes, but, you know, maybe you can hear it. And I have not heard the recording yet, so I don't know if something will, you know, show up, if like a ghost will start like talking. I don't know. I will say, though, that the first time that my wife and I ever went to Savannah, Georgia, back in 2013, we did go on like a haunted pub crawl. And it's one of these things where you show up at a bar and they give you a beer, and then you go to like another bar and they give you another beer. You go to another bar, another beer, and by the end of it, you're just like dying because it's like 100 degrees with like 90% humidity, and you're drunk and you're just sweating alcohol. And by that time, you will be seeing ghosts, right? I think that's what they're hoping. But anyway. But, you know, yeah, my wife and I did go on this tour back in 2013, and I had my recorder. And I was listening back to the audio the next day, and I heard something on there that I genuinely could not explain. I'm not saying it was a ghost, but it was an anomaly, okay? And I've played it on this podcast, on the Midnight Citizen Show, several times. And I'll play it for you here now, so I'm going to stop talking and let you hear it. This is from February of 2013 on an episode called Supposedly Haunted Savannah. See, you can hear it now. And I'm going to light my cigar. Relight my cigar.
Please, sir. No.
I'm going to Photoshop that in early.
Do it. With your arm around it. Would you mind?
I'm sure all those ghosts are really pissed off that they have to stay in this...
Entertain.
Well, they have to stay in this big room full of kegs of beer, so it's like a constant tease for the rest of their eternal lives, or mortal, yeah, their eternal lives.
Yeah.
Most of our photos are from 6 or 7 years ago, so I would like to have something fresh. He's put me in charge of all of that now, so I'll send that up. The light is really bright.
No.
Because I was trying to see. I saw something.
I did, yeah.
Here, maybe if I like take a flash, you can see it.
So,
See up there.
So,
I want to be able to.
Okay, so I don't know what that sounded like to you, but it just sounded like somebody was breathing into my microphone. And I remember very specifically when I was recording that and where in what position I was holding my recorder. So we were in the Moon River Brewing Company, which is on Bay Street, which is the street that runs parallel to River Street, the major, as I said, tourist thoroughfare in Savannah. And, you know, it's a bar, but it's been many, many things in its 180-year history. Like, it was a hospital at one point that housed both, you know, Confederate and Yankee soldiers during the Civil War. It's been like a doctor's office and things like that. But we were upstairs at the bar, and in a place where they keep all the kegs and all that, and it's basically just storage. It's very hot and it's very musty up there. And we went into this one area where there's just a bunch of like empty kegs. And our tour guide says, you know, that paranormal investigators believe that this is a nexus, a portal to another world. And they say, like, of all the tours I've ever done, you know, this is the most haunted room that I've ever been in. And we're like, again, I don't know how you rank that, but yeah, I was in there and they were just letting us walk around, and I was holding my recorder down by my hip, and there was nobody else around me except my wife, and she was standing right there to my left, and the recorder was on my right side. And yeah, it just sounded like somebody was either passing by me or there was just like somebody who was just like breathing directly into my recorder. So creepy. So the last time that I went to the Sorrel-Weed House a few years ago, I did not bring a recorder. So this time I did. And yeah, I recorded the whole hour-long tour of us walking through the house. And you know, it's a very interesting tour. I mean, just for the history of it, because the person who built the house was this guy who they would have like these big parties and, you know, things like that in their house. And there would be this one big room where they would have the banquet, and then they always talk about on the tour how they would, after dinner was over, they would remove the big banquet table, and then the men would go into one side of the room and the women would go into the other side, and they would close the big the big French doors. And they say, you know, in the room where the men were, you know, you can always smell like bourbon and tobacco. And I was like, wow, that sounds amazing. And so the tour guide was always encouraging us, you know, to speak up if we smelled anything out of the ordinary. And at that point, you know, I had this very strong, potent cigar in my bag. I kind of thought about, you know, pulling a prank on people and just pulling it out. I didn't do that. So, anyway, but yeah, the tour guide, you know, also has an iPad, and she's going around showing everybody like pictures that previous tour groups have caught of the room. And there's 2 pictures that she shows us in particular that just really do, whatever you believe, send a chill down your spine. I'm kind of getting like goose flesh just talking about it right now. You know, there's this one picture of like somebody caught, you know, this African American person in the background, in the darkness and in the shadows. And she's wearing like period costuming. And she doesn't look like, you know, anybody in modern days would. So, and then she shows us this other picture. This is the really creepy one. Of like this little girl. But she looks like that girl from that movie The Ring, you know, the one who crawls out of the whale. The well. Not the whale. The well. You know, the thing with water in it that goes into the ground. You know, the girl has like, you know, on like a white night dress. And like her wet black hair is like combed in front of her face so you don't see her face. It's a really creepy picture, man. I'm scared. It really does just make you kind of turn to your surroundings and just really turn your senses on, you know. But one of the reasons that I wanted to do this tour again was indeed because of this one picture and what happened when the tour guide from a few years ago showed us this picture, because it was on a very dark and stormy night when my wife and I, along with my mother-in-law, went on this tour. And something happened that actually forced my mother-in-law, you know, who's a very strong person. She's not that squeamish. You know, she's an actor and she gets on stage in front of people. I mean, that takes a lot to do. A lot of guts. Forced my mother-in-law to leave the group. So as I said, it's a dark and stormy night, and our tour guide, and he announces that, you know, it is like his, you know, first week working at this place. He shows us this picture of the girl from The Ring. And he's trying to like recreate the picture. He says, I need 2 volunteers to come and stand in front of this mirror. There's a gigantic mirror that looks over on the entire, you know, room. I need 2 volunteers to stand in front of this mirror. And we're going to try and recreate this picture. So my wife raises her hand. She along with another girl in the room on our tour group is, you know, they're the 2 volunteers, and they go and stand in front of this mirror. And he tells, you know, my wife to take a picture of the mirror to see if, like, you know, the little girl will appear in front of her. And my wife, who is less of a skeptic than I am, you know, is not scared at all, stands in front of the mirror, and right as she takes the picture, the lights go off in the entire room, and there's like screaming and everything, and I feel like something right next to me like bump onto my person and grab onto my shirt. And I'm thinking that it's my wife. And then within about 30 seconds, the lights come back on. And I turn to my right, and it's not my wife. It's the tour guide. The tour guide is holding on to me. He freaks out on his first week on the job. And my wife is standing right there in the middle of the room, looking totally unfazed. And my mother-in-law is kind of freaking out next to the tour guide. And so we're just trying to like figure out what happened, because the rest of the tour, I'm kind of thinking like, oh, obviously they staged this just to scare us, or like it's the tour guide's first week, so obviously his coworkers are like, you know, breaking him in, they're hazing him or whatever. And then I get to think about it more and more. No, it is a dark and stormy night, and you know, there's like furniture in this room that's like over 100 years old, and they tell you at the beginning of the tour, do not sit on any of the furniture, do not touch anything, it's very old. And then we find out at the end of the tour that it's like, you know, the lights went out on the entire block. So it was a real event. It actually happened. My mother-in-law asked the tour guide to please leave the tour. So anyway. But yeah, like anywhere you go in Savannah, though, they just talk about how haunted the place is. And one of my wife and I, my wife and I, at the end of each night, whatever we were doing, we just loved to walk around the streets, and no matter how humid it was, and it's just a very relaxing, a very lazy city. It's very quiet all the time, even with all the tourism going on. Like you always hear the galloping of horses going around giving people carriage rides and things like that. And, around 9 o'clock, most of the tours kind of stop and the streets just kind of go silent. And you're just walking around this like beautiful southern city, just having a good time. Occasionally passing like a big group of people and, dads pulling their kids in wagons. The kids in the wagons are like on their iPads playing games and things like that. And ahead of these groups of people, these dads and moms and kids, is, some young tour guide who probably goes to, the Savannah College of Art and Design and is paying his tuition by giving people ghost tours, and you're always just kind of hearing the same exact things, The Sorrel-Weed House is said to be the most haunted house in all of Savannah, which Savannah is supposed to be the most haunted city of all of the country. So this is the most haunted place in the entire country, right here, the Sorrel-Weed House. Right. So. Relight my cigar once again. It's tough to like have a cigar and podcast because you're talking so much. It's a good way to let a cigar last, though. I'll tell you that much. Hey.
Oh, hi, sweetheart.
I just told the story of your scary encounter with the ghost at the Sorrel-Weed House.
This time or last time?
Last time.
Oh yeah, that was the good one.
That was the good one.
Yeah.
You didn't quite like it this one.
No, I liked this one. It was totally different. It wasn't spooky, but it was really cute.
What did you not like about it this time?
That nothing spooky happened. No, there was less atmosphere. This
Less
one
atmosphere.
didn't you kind of feel that way?
I guess so. I mean,
were you still adequately spooked?
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I get spooked easily. I got
really wrapped up by like the families and the children that were in there who were all just like, you're the weird adult that actually is here and having fun.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that was a fun part of the tour.
Yeah.
That there was this little kid who kept on following, who like really attached himself to you.
Yeah.
Because I don't think his parents were really as interested in the history or the ghost as much as he was.
Yeah. His parents were cute.
Yeah. They were nice. Yeah, that's right. The dad was really fascinated by my recorder.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
He kept on saying like, "What you got there?"
And they thought it was like actual ghost hunting equipment.
They did. They thought I was a ghost hunter.
And
That's
so
right.
did another girl who was a little bit closer to our age. She was probably still a full decade younger than us, but
but she thought I was a professional ghost hunter.
She did, and she came and sat on the couch with us, and instead of like hopping up and joining her boyfriend, she did that thing where like you want to talk to someone, and so you kind of linger, and then she started asking about the equipment and.
That's
things.
right. Yeah, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
I'm glad you came out here.
Yeah, and then she bolted.
She did.
After you were like, I don't believe in ghosts.
You really think I scared her off?
No,
I annoyed her?
I'm joking. I'm teasing you.
Okay.
I'm
Right.
having a chuckle.
I know. I'm gonna laugh. Okay.
And then she got up and left, and I started taking pictures around the sofa, and I thought you were still there, and I was like, what's the little girl's name who, grabbed your ankles or whatever by the sofa? And then all of a sudden I hear just this little voice, Sarah, it's Sarah. And
it was the little kid.
It was the little kid. Yeah. And he came over next to me and started taking pictures and showing me what he got. And, it was just.
Yeah, I remember that
so cute.
there were like there was like an extension of the tour that you could take for like a little bit more money, and I didn't really. It was like you left the house and actually got to walk around a little bit more of the streets and go to the cemetery, I think, where the Sorrels are buried.
Right.
And I decided not to do that because I just wanted to kind of like, you know, leave early and just go walk around. And I remember the kid like waited next to us. He wanted us to come with him, and I think he was a little distressed when we didn't join him.
I know, that kind of broke my heart because he purposely like separated from the rest of his entire family and the entire group and just kind of stood and looked at us. And we
I know. I kind of wish they would have given you the option to just go ahead and take, you know, go the rest of the tour, and you could like, you know, pay them extra, you know, when you got off of it, but whatever. Because I would have done that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's okay.
It was fine. We went and had, you know, overpriced drinks and then stumbled around for an hour trying to find our hotel.
That's right. Yeah. We got lost. It's really easy to get lost in Savannah because every single street looks the same, and the GPS has a really hard time finding you. But we ate in like this bar that was showing Footloose, and we got really wrapped up in watching the movie Footloose.
Yeah.
And then the Goonies.
You couldn't hear the sound on any of
That's
it.
right. We couldn't, but we knew the words because we've seen that movie so many times. Yeah. I know. Okay. All right.
I have to go feed the pets.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry.
It's almost 10.
Oh my gosh. Is it really?
Forgot. Yeah.
Oh, I've totally lost. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm gonna be out here for a little bit longer, and.
All right, honey.
Okay. It was good. I'm glad that my wife came out here because there's a lot of that tour that I forgot about, I guess. So anyway. Yeah, that's not the only thing we did there, though. I mean, I don't want to like make it sound like all we did in Savannah was go to ghost tours, and I had cigars and we drank. But yeah, the major day was Wednesday. Wednesday was kind of the big day because my mother-in-law set up a bunch of stuff for us to do that day. We went and rode horses at like a horse ranch, which that's not really my scene. I'm not really like a horse kind of guy, you know, because they are kind of like big animals, and I think I've had like a lifelong fear of horses ever since, you know, Superman got on one when I was a little kid and was thrown off one. He was paralyzed. So, but my mother-in-law knows somebody, as I said, you know, G. Marie, she knows a lot of people in Savannah, and she's constantly networking with people to try and get, you know, ask them, you know, to do stuff for us. And one of the people that she knows runs a horse ranch for special needs people, like people with Down syndrome and autism. And, you know, kind of the big thing in the last few years in special needs education is equine therapy, you know, and they, you know, it's like apparently horses, like petting horses and riding horses is really good for neuroatypical people. And my brother-in-law, Colin, who was also there with us, he was staying with my mother-in-law for a couple of weeks. Colin is autistic. And so my mother-in-law was able to set up a session for Colin to come out and get a private trail ride. And she invited us to join him. So my wife and I went out and got on the horses and had a really nice trail ride outside of Savannah next to Bonaventure Cemetery, which is where Johnny Mercer is buried. And we're riding along the trail and everything, and I'm actually kind of surprised at how naturally riding the horse is coming to me. I've only been on a horse a couple of times in my life. The last time was about 6 years ago. And we're riding around on the trail, and suddenly we come up on this huge tree that looks like really familiar. And I'm like, where do I know that tree from? It's like a gigantic oak tree with all the Spanish moss hanging off of it. And it comes up on this clearing. And the lady who's guiding us suddenly says, okay, this is kind of the most famous tree in all Savannah. This is the tree that Forrest and Jenny hung off of in Forrest Gump. And I'm like, all of a sudden, oh my God, that's right. Like, it's amazing how movies can sometimes like build memories for you that don't really exist. They like give you artificial memories. Like, I come out to this tree in the middle of nowhere outside of Savannah, And I just feel like I've been there before. And indeed, I totally forgot that Savannah, Georgia is where they actually filmed most of Forrest Gump, even famously shot it in and around Savannah, Georgia. Because it looks a lot more like Alabama than Alabama does. Or at least the Hollywood idea of Alabama. So we're coming out here and we're seeing this gigantic tree, this oak tree with all this, you know, just beautiful Spanish moss coming off of it. Riding by on horses. It was just a really nice little romantic moment. Very, very cool. So yeah, after we come out with the horses, which the only real freak out moment that I have with my horse is my horse kept on wanting to like bend down and like eat the grass, and every time a horse bends down with you on top of it, you go with it. You go wherever its head goes. So every time it wanted to bend down and eat the grass, I would come down and I would like start to lose my balance in the stirrups, and I just really did feel like I was about to fall off of the thing and hit my head. Like, even though I'm wearing a helmet, it's still a pretty scary scene. So, you know, I pull on the reins, and meanwhile, my guide is saying, don't pull too hard, don't pull too hard. And, like, I'm getting yelled at, so I'm getting, like, alternate. I don't really know what the sweet spot is, but eventually I get used to it. And, you know, you're supposed to, like, kick the horse to get the thing to move. The thing. You know, my horse's name was Forrest. Like, and I guess because of the tree, it's named after, you know, the movie Forrest Gump. So, you know, every time you need to go forward because that horse will just stand still. You know, you have to tell the horse to move on or walk on. You have to be like, walk on. Which just feels very awkward because, you know, like I talk to my dogs all the time, but I'm not used to talking to a horse. And whenever I talk to my dogs, I can't get them to do anything. But when you talk to a horse, like horses really do respond to voice commands. They're used to it. I mean, they're genetically, it's like they've evolved that way to respond to human voices. So you can say walk onto it and it will know exactly what you mean, but sometimes you have to sort of set the pace. It's kind of like being in a car and having to set it in gear. So you have to kick the horse, and I felt really weird and odd about that because I'm not really in the nature of kicking animals. But my tour guide is like, don't be afraid of it. You know, you're the boss. She's a very like forceful. Like there was a point where I almost like kind of started to feel very anxious. Like I almost felt like I was in the throes of a panic attack at the very beginning because our tour guide was a very forceful person and very annoyed at the fact. I think she thought that my wife and I were experienced riders. And she is used to working with people with autism. So whenever she meets somebody who's neurotypical, like my wife and I think she thinks that we're just like masters of everything. Like we can do anything without instruction, which is, you know, not the way that works. Being a teacher, I definitely know what I'm talking about there. So, but yeah, she was kind of yelling at us initially. She, you know, trying to get us to do things that we weren't used to. So yeah, I like kicked this horse and it took me some time to get used to it. She said, don't worry about it. Forrest is made out of concrete. You can kick him all you want. And so finally, you know, Forrest was just kind of standing there wanting to eat grass. And I finally just like kicked the thing really freaking hard like she wanted me to. And he starts running. I'm like, oh my God, I'm on a horse. I'm going like 15 miles an hour on this horse all of a sudden. And my guide is suddenly like, oh my God, I can't believe you got him to do that. I'm like, you told me to kick him. And he's like, how hard did you kick him? Like, what? So I pulled on the reins and got it to slow down. She's like, that's the best I've seen all day. I felt very accomplished with myself. So, you know. Yeah, so after that, after we left Forrest, we had some time, so we went out to Tybee Island. And Tybee Island is where my wife and I stayed the first time we ever came out to Savannah. It's this beautiful stretch of seashore on the Atlantic Ocean. We didn't go to the beach this time. We went out there. We decided to go to Fort Pulaski, which is a national monument. It's run by the National Park Service. And you know, we've driven by Fort Pulaski several times. We've never gone. So and you know, we end up going to this it's basically just this giant, I don't know, you know, forts, if you've ever been to them, are basically just big brick walls with a big green space between them. But I mean, this one was a little bit different because it does have this very fascinating story. The place was built after the War of 1812. You know, the United States was kind of deciding that, you know, if we ever get invaded by the French again, we need to do something about it. So they built this gigantic, you know, fort to defend themselves against French invaders. And somehow it took them more than 60 years to build, or 50 years to build. And by the time they finished the thing, it was 1860. And so before the federal government could take control of the fort that they had built, they had to take it back. The South suddenly had control of Fort Pulaski. And they had it for something like 2 years before the federal troops finally took it over. It took them about 30 hours to take control of the fort. And then they had it, and basically after the federal troops had it, there was really nothing for them to do at the fort. You know, they had used it to do what they needed to do, which was close down the South's supply chain of armaments. And so basically they just kind of waited out the rest of the war there. The Yankees. And when the Civil War ended, there was really no other need for the fort. They weren't really afraid that we were going to get, you know, invaded by the French at that point, or anybody else for that matter. So pretty much as soon as the thing got built, it was really only used for a couple of years, and then after the Civil War, it became a national monument. It's been a national monument pretty much. It was basically built to just be a monument. So it was a beautiful place. You know, my wife and I, we walked around the entire perimeter, upstairs and down. The upstairs had all these cannons on it that looked out onto the sea and everything. And what was really fascinating is there was all this amazing history around us. But people weren't really concerned about that. What they really loved was there was a fig tree in like the southeast corner of the fort. And you could go up and pick your figs. And everybody just got so excited about this. You know, there's a little sign that says, like, you know, only pick a fig if you intend to eat it. You know, be a good steward. And I had never eaten a fresh fig before. And I decided to have one, and before long, I didn't care about the history anymore. I was just eating figs. So, you know. So, yeah. And then that night, you know, we went out to eat at the Pink House, and once again, my mother-in-law working her connections. You know, this is a place that has two restaurants in it. You know, one is upstairs, one is downstairs in the cellar. And again, it's a very historic building, restored by Jim Williams in the 1950s. But the tavern you have to walk downstairs to get into it. And it's like this very dimly lit room. And we go in, and there's a friend of my mother-in-law's who's playing the piano. He's like the house musician. And he comes in once a week, and he plays all the standards of, he plays, the Piano Man by Billy Joel. When we were walking in there, he was playing Ophelia, which I don't know who originally recorded Ophelia. But I always knew about it from the band's Last Waltz concert, but yeah, it was just a really nice atmosphere, and we go down there and very dimly lit, and sit down with a couple of friends of my mom's. One of the women is, or the woman that is there is it's a husband and wife. The wife is like a student of my mom's, even though she's my mom's age, but she takes acting classes with my mother-in-law. Sorry. And her husband, who's there, his name's Mike, like me. It's a good name. So we bond over that for a while. It's a common name, but we bond over it. He's a retired detective from Chicago. So I'm sitting there having dinner with an acting student of my mother-in-law's and a retired detective from Chicago. And, they're just like these gypsies. They've been all over the country. They used to live in California together, and they've been out in Savannah ever since he retired back in something like 2001. And we're just like having dinner there, like listening to G. Marie's friend Kenny play the piano. And all the while I'm looking around this place, and I'm just like, this is just a beautiful. I just wonder what the history of this place is. Turns out, like, it was a Revolutionary War headquarters of the Continental Army. Like, they set in this area, in this very room, next to the gigantic fireplace where I was eating my $58 steak, just planning the Revolutionary War. Fascinating. One point I had to get up and excuse myself and go to the bathroom, and somebody, I can't remember who it was, said, well, when you go in there, thank Mr. Bartleby. I'm like, who's Mr. Bartleby? And he's like, oh, he's the ghost that haunts the bathroom. It's like on that pub crawl that we did a few years ago. We start out at the Sixpence Pub, and I excuse myself at one point to go to the bathroom, and they tell me to whenever I look in the mirror, just give a good long stare, because there's supposed to be like a ghost that looks back out at you, which just scared me half to death. And of all the beer that I had to drink that night, I don't think I peed until we got back to our hotel on Tybee Island. At that point, I was just convinced that every single bathroom in Savannah, Georgia is haunted.
Said, do me a favor, son, won't you stay and keep Italy company? Said, take a load off Fanny, take a load of free, take a load off Fanny, and put the load right on me.
Good job,
Jean Marie, if I say it enough times, I might remember Jean Marie.
What'd you say?
He said, that's my mom.
That's
my mom.
Jean Marie, you said I'm gonna fix your rats. You take Jack, my dog.
Now she's famous.
I know.
In Chester, no, I'm a peaceful man. Said, do me a favor, son. Feed on whatever you can. I said, take a load off Annie. Take a load off Annie. Take a load off Annie. Yes, Annie. He put the load right on Jean Marie. Trying to say it enough times so I never forget it again.
Yeah, so yeah, here I am now in Birmingham, Alabama. It's a Friday night. As my wife just reminded me around 10:30, my complete sense of time is off right now, as it always is after a big vacation. You know, we weren't out of town 30 minutes on Monday before I completely forgot what day of the week it was. You know, because Mondays, like even during the summer, you know, I'm used to like doing things, being busy. You know, during the summer I teach summer camp or whatever. I have projects that I work on. You know, Monday is typically a very busy, stressful day. But there I am going on vacation. And now here I am on a Friday night. And it's pretty much the same as every other Friday night. You know, I'm out here in the podcast alley, you know, having a cigar. The rain has stopped. It was raining pretty heavily earlier. Yeah, I would say, you know, even though last night was kind of an anxious adventure, you know, it's just like the last time I went to Amelia Island 26 years ago. With a hotel room that flooded so badly we had to change rooms, and searching high and low for a Grand Slam breakfast, and climbing out of the second floor balcony down to the first floor. I had to ask my mom, by the way, why did I do that? And she said because there was a cat down there that you really wanted to pet. So it wasn't just because I could, it's because I just really wanted to pet a cat, apparently. Yeah, I remember that 26 years later, and I think, like, you know, 26 years later, 26 years from tonight, you know, I will probably remember, you know, I may remember the ghost tour and the horseback ride and the pink house and Fort Pulaski, all the things that went right. But I will most likely first remember searching for a plunger in a huge empty hotel that resembled The Shining. Walking into a big dark bar and restaurant, expecting to find Lloyd the bartender offering me a whiskey. Keep your eyes open. Because there's so much street noise, and you know, you're just kind of in the middle of, you know, everything.
You have to sacrifice the general feeling.
Yeah.
For the 9:30 tour, if you want to go ahead and stand up, you need outside to your right on this sidewalk against this brick wall. I'm gonna grab a quick head count. We're gonna head inside.
That's us, right?
Yeah.
I forget what it was then. I thought it was in the video. Oh, never mind. Mom, radiation.
But you're all second.
Oh my God. Is this our group?
Yeah, this should be right.
Oh, there's a tent.
Oh,
No, it's on Friday and Saturdays.
yeah.
One of us is lying.
Twitter notifications, like different.
I'm not going down there. That's where people get kidnapped down there.
Oh my gosh.
Alright, so those of you who are here for my tour, go just step a little bit this way so I don't confuse it with those people down there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Are you guys on my tour? Alright, come down a little bit further this way. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, we have everybody here. A quick note before we head inside. All of the furniture is from the 19th century. I ask you guys not to touch it, not to lean on it, or sit on any of the furniture. This is a haunted house. I ask nobody to scare anybody else on the tour. It is not that kind of haunted house. So with that, if you guys want to follow me this way, we're going to cut right in front of that tour and head inside.
Just letting y'all know.
I think that all the people who run these tours are SCAD students.
I'm sure the majority of them are. Yeah, I'm sure that.
What does scab stand for?
Savannah College of Art and Design. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying scab.
Oh no.
It's like a secret society from a Thomas Pynchon book.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Nothing. Sounds like a secret society. Oh, look at that moon. Lazy old moon.
Lazy old moon.
Yeah.
I don't think we went in this way.
I don't think so.
We went directly into the spooky basement,
Mm-hmm.
and Mom started to cry.
Yes, she did. She made it through most of the tour, though.
Until the lights went out.
Yeah, that's right. Hold this, I'm gonna put my camera up.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna need it.
She put your phone on silent.
No,
Go.
not gonna either.
Oh, all right. Fancy pants. Now I see where they did a live stream.
Pardon me, guys. I'm going to come stand up here by the fireplace. All right. How's everybody feeling tonight?
Good.
Good.
Well, welcome into the Sorrel-Weed House. For those of you who are unaware, you are now standing in one of the most paranormally active haunted houses in the entire United States. So welcome in. We're very glad to have you guys here with us tonight. My name is Zoe, and I'm going to be your paranormal tour guide for the next hour or two, depending on if you're going to be joining me on my walking tour. For those of you who are here to catch your own paranormal evidence, you are allowed to take pictures and videos throughout the night. For pictures, I just ask you to be cautious of flash. It is going to get dark here in a little bit. We don't want to blind anybody. This is also an old house. There's going to be dust flying around, especially in the lower levels. People catch dust in their photos and think it's a ghost, think it's an orb. Then I just have to tell you that that's a piece of dust. People usually don't like it when I tell them that. To catch something paranormal, I recommend taking a picture of the same thing more than one time. Using a burst mode or a live photo mode works very well. This way, when you go back through your photos later tonight, if you have something that's in one picture that's not in any of the others, it's way more likely to be paranormal. You are also allowed to audio and video record if you would wish to. Now, do I have any ghost hunters, ghost adventures, or BuzzFeed Unsolved fans in here?
Yes.
Yes,
We like
alright.
BuzzFeed, yeah.
The reason I mentioned those three shows specifically is because they have all been here to investigate this house. Many people come and take these tours because they have seen us on TV. Ghost Hunters, the original ghost hunting show on the Sci-Fi Channel, shot their very first Halloween episode here back in 2005. Now, while they were here, they captured a very substantial piece of paranormal evidence, and this was in the form of an EVP. Does anybody know what that stands for?
She does.
What does it stand for?
An electronic voice command.
Exactly. All that means something you hear later on in the recording that you didn't hear at the time it was recorded. I do have that EVP for you guys, and I will play it once we get to the carriage house in just a little while. But now I'm going to run through the history of this house. It's going to lay the foundation for all the stories that I tell you guys later on tonight. This 10,000 square foot Greek Revival mansion was built between 1838 and 1840, and it was commissioned for Francis Sorrel. He's pictured right up there in those small glasses. Francis Sorrel was born in 1793 on the island of San Domingue, which we presently know as Haiti. At the time, it was a French colony. His father, Antoine Sorrel, was a French nobleman, and his mother, Eugenia, was a free Haitian woman of color. Now, unfortunately, pardon?
He's black.
He was mixed.
Okay.
Unfortunately, a couple weeks after Francis was born, his mother Eugenia passed away. And a couple years later, due to the uprising Haitian Revolution, his father Antoine fled San Domingue because he would have met his demise. So this left Francis by himself from a very young age. But it is believed that his mother's family took him in throughout his childhood for his own safety. Once Francis was old enough, he got a job at a shipping company as a shipping merchant. This is where his wealth began to accumulate. They taught him their trade, taught him how to speak English. They brought him here to the United States, and they even introduced him to his first wife, Lucinda Moxley. Lucinda and Francis were married for about 5 years and had 3 children together, until Lucinda passed away due to the devil's disease, which we now know as yellow fever. At the time, men were not sole caretakers of children. Francis needed another wife. So the Moxley family went ahead and offered up their youngest daughter, Matilda Moxley. She was Lucinda's younger sister. I doubt Matilda had any say in this marriage, if she wanted to be married to Francis or not. But she fulfilled her wifely duties to him anyways, because she gave him 8 children. And only 5 of them survived through childhood. The eldest of the children who passed away was Matilda Ann Sorrel, named after her mother. She was only 6 when she died above us in the children's quarters due to scarlet fever. So after we finish up in this room in just a minute, we're going to head across the hallway into the parlor rooms. After that, we're going to descend down into the lower level. Then I'm going to take you guys into the courtyard where I'm going to share the main story of the night, and then we're going to head into the carriage house. For those of you on my walking tour, I'll give you some more information on that in just a little while. The room we're standing in right now is Francis's study. This is where he was getting all of his work done and tends to be the least active room in the house. Although in the past couple months, we've been getting reports of people feeling very dizzy or feeling unorthodox in here. People have had to physically get on the ground to ground themselves. So pay attention tonight, not only to what you're feeling, but to what you're hearing, seeing, and also smelling. If you believe you're having a paranormal experience, feel free to speak up about it, or tell somebody that you came here with. It's really cool when somebody on your tour has an authentic experience, and we all get to experience it together. But if you guys don't have any further questions, I'm going to open up that door right behind you guys, and you can follow me into the parlor rooms. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, this is a recorder, audio recorder. Yeah. It's not really that, yeah. Bring it with me all the time.
Whether it's a ghost or isolated,
yeah. Thanks. Oh my God, look at that guy.
I do. With, I know.
This house has one of those cooling boards.
Cooling boards?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And if it's a ghost making the cold spot, I'm fine because it feels nice.
It feels so nice.
It feels really good.
Yes, orange. Yes, I did. I'm gonna close this door all the way. You guys want to spread out for me? So welcome into the parlor room. These are the most beautiful and extravagant rooms in the entire house. What better way to show off these two rooms than to have parties? And that's exactly what the Sorrels did. The Sorrels were known throughout Savannah for their parties. Anybody who was anybody wanted to attend. Sometimes their parties held up to hundreds of people. Obviously, hundreds of people aren't going to fit into these two small rooms, and the Sorrels certainly wouldn't have had them anywhere else in their house. So their parties began outside in Madison Square, which was pretty much their front yard. They would walk the square and talk with guests till it began to grow a little late. So they would invite 15 to 20 of their closest friends or family back inside the mansion. When they came into these two rooms, they were met with a banquet table. It stretched from this window all the way down to that other parlor room to that other window. They had fancy foods, fine bourbons and brandies, and the Sorrels and their guests would sit down and have a feast. Once they were done feasting, the enslaved would come in and take the tables away, and a band would set up, perhaps where that piano is. They would continue to drink and dance until they grew tired, as many of us do from drinking and dancing. But they didn't want to let their party die just yet, so they would separate by gender. Men remained in this room, while women crossed over into the other parlor room. The pocket doors in the middle would be shut to give each party complete privacy. Now, while the men remained in here, perhaps talking about business or debating over business, they were also smoking very fine cigars. A lot of people, before I mention it, say that they're smelling cigar smoke or smelling a humidor where cigars are stored. I'm not sure if anybody's smelling anything. Alright. We had a woman one time get down on her hands and knees looking for a lit pipe, thinking we had something planted in this house to make her think she was going to have a paranormal experience. There's nothing planted anywhere in this house to make you think you're going to have a paranormal experience. Nor is anything going to jump out at you from behind a corner. Like I said outside, it's not that kind of haunted house. On one of my coworkers' tours, she was giving her speech in here like always, when she noticed a woman staring at her. She looked back at this woman, and she gave her a very stiff nod. She asked what was happening. This woman was having an allergic reaction, that she was allergic to cigar smoke. So her tour guide asked her to cross the threshold. All that means is to go into another room. When she crossed over into the ladies' parlor room, her reaction stopped. If you want to tell if something's paranormal or not, simply move. If it follows you, it is not paranormal. If you move and it stops, and you come back and it begins again, it could be paranormal. I'm going to talk about this very large mirror above the fireplace now. There's another mirror like this in the ladies' parlor room, which we're going to be heading to in just a few minutes. Some of our best paranormal evidence has been captured through these two mirrors, and I have a couple photos to show you now. Quick note, while I am walking around showing photos, if you don't wish to look at them, you don't have to. I'm not here to force anybody I'm not here to force anybody to look at something they don't wish to. This first picture is of a man in a group who dedicated himself to being the group straggler. He was the last person to leave every room. He got a little second of alone time to himself. His tour had already exited through the ladies' parlor room. When he came back into this room, stood in front of that mirror, and took a picture. Later, when he joined the rest of his tour, he realized that he was not the only person in the photo. I'm going to walk around now and show everybody. I'm going to start with you guys and make my way around to you guys. All right. So our man is holding a digital camera, and our figure is right there in the background. Yes. That figure is staying right with you guys. So there's our figure right there in the background. Our man is holding a digital camera. There's our figure right there in the background. Our man is holding a digital camera. Yep. There's our figure right there in the background.
When was this taken?
I believe back in 2008.
Yeah. Love it.
There's our figure right there in the background. Pardon me.
Like that she just looks like she's walking through. She's
Right there in
like,
the
Hey.
background.
oh, hey.
So I'm going to zoom in on this figure now so we can talk about it. Many people believe that this is Matilda Sorrel, the lady of the house. Her best memories were probably in these two parlor rooms, so it makes sense why she might still hang out in here. People say that this figure has some odd facial features. She looks like she doesn't have any eyes. She also looks like she doesn't have a nose. People say that her mouth looks like it is split or stitched from ear to ear. Many people believe that this is a person on a tour or somebody who works here. We have security cameras all throughout the house. If somebody were to come inside, open that door, stand in front of it, allow the man to take a picture, open the door, leave the mansion. That's a lot of work for a trick photo. We would have also been able to see them walking around on our cameras. Also, if somebody came and took a tour or worked here who didn't have any eyes or a nose that day, I'm sure somebody would notice. I have another picture to show you guys in the ladies' parlor room. After that, I'm going to give you time to walk around these two rooms by yourself and take pictures. You guys want to go ahead and head over?
The stragglers.
You got your camera?
Yeah, but you go be the ghost in the corner. Okay.
Real one, not a ghost.
I know.
What's the name again? Alright, I need one of my two to stand right there, and I need the other to stand right there. Like I said, if you'd like to come stand up here, you're more than welcome to.
So wait,
Stand right here. Yep.
there's like a knocking over here. Is this a
Sometimes that cabinet will bounce against the wall.
Oh, I'm
Alright. Move a little bit over this way. You guys look perfect. If you don't make it out of the house tonight, I was not your tour guide. But we will get to know each other because you'll be joining me on all my further tours. So this next photo is with two little girls who fell in love with the parlor rooms. They asked their dad to take a picture to remember the moment. When he showed these little girls this picture, they left the tour crying. I'm going to let our two volunteers sweat it out in the middle while I show everybody else, starting with you guys and making my way over to you. So here's our photo. Our two girls are wearing
God
white
dang
and
it.
our figure is in the middle.
Good grief.
Our figure is right there in the middle and our two little girls are wearing white.
so wait.
Oh.
It looks like the ring.
That's been a popular response lately. Our figure is right there in the middle and our two
Here, hold this. I'm going to take a picture in there.
Okay.
They're standing where those two girls are.
Okay, I just need to know.
So our figure is right there in the middle, and our two little girls are wearing white. Are you guys ready to see? Yes. So here is our photo. Our two little girls are wearing white. The figure would have been standing right in between you two. You don't have to stand there anymore if you don't wish to. I'm going to zoom in and talk about this figure for just a second and then let you guys go free. Many people say this looks like the little girl from The Ring. Many people believe this is Matilda Ann Sorrel, the little girl who passed away due to scarlet fever. This figure has some different facial features than the other one that I showed you. This figure has more of a gaping black hole for a mouth, rather than a slit or a stitched mouth. People say this figure also looks like she has a nose. People believe this is another trick photo. Again, with security cameras, if there was a physical person standing there, we would have been able to see them. People believe we used an app to put a ghost in our photos. We've downloaded all the free apps, we've paid for all of them, we've used Photoshop. We can't create anything that looks remotely like this figure. You guys have time now to walk these 2 rooms by yourself to take pictures and videos. If you have any questions or want to see the pictures a little bit closer, let me know. Come stand at the back of the room out of everybody's way.
Oh, she's going around in circles.
We're nice to our
We have a table just like that almost, but our legs are Yes, but our legs go straight up. That's in the dental box. We're not having some camera.
So this is the original photo. That is the full zoomed out. Get out. But this photo was taken and shared with us, and we got their permission and we're allowed to share it.
Yeah, that's great on it.
Oh, sorry.
Don't let us know if you find anything. Mom, next time you come here, order me a camera. Huh? Order me a camera.
I'm sorry. Creepy girl. We're gonna come be. Let's see if we can make the lights go off again.
See if we can make the lights go off.
Yeah. Okay. So what I did last time was and I stared at like the and then the lights it's brand new. What'd you get? Oh, it's Here. You want to be in the picture with me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Be in. Yeah, that looks really scary.
Because women didn't go to work back then, they didn't go anywhere. They began to cause hysteria, where the women began to go crazy inside the house. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and open up this door behind me and the door to the lower level. On your way down, you may hold on to the handrails; they are not original.
You got a picture of that one? Bless you.
Thanks.
Hey, it's that Renoir painting. That's in the Phillips Museum in DC.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, and so because I saw the original one, and so you look at it and you see like it's a big happy party painting, but no one's actually looking at each other.
Oh, that's true.
No, I mean you
They're
look
all
at
looking
you
at
look
their
at
phones.
you look at every you look at every single face, and they're all looking at like someone else, but none of them are actually looking at each other. I know.
Yeah, it's a deceptively beautiful picture. I think this is where Shane and what's his face?
Everybody hanging out and trying to explore the rest of the house.
Yeah.
21, 22. After you guys get downstairs, I'm going to go across the hallway and close that door, and I will be done with you. Alright. My last one.
I forgot how just musty.
It is very musty. Oh, sorry. Stand next to the spooky fan.
Spooky basement. That's why I come down here.
Welcome everyone to the lower level of the Sorrel-Weed House. This tends to be the most active level of the house. Upstairs in the parlor rooms, I briefly mentioned to you guys that the Sorrels did have slaves living on their property. There were 13 to 15 enslaved people living here at the same time. They lived across the drive of the carriage house, which we are going to tour in just a little bit. Where we're standing right now was their working quarters. There are 4 fireplaces throughout the lower level where they cooked for the Sorrel family and for their parties. These were very poor working conditions. I can't imagine how hot it would have been in the middle of summer with 13 to 15 people down here at once and 4 fireplaces lit, possibly all at the same time. For those of you on this side of the room, I'm going to ask you guys to meet me on the other side. You guys okay? Oh, you can. I can let you go to the corner right here. As you guys meet me on the other side of the house. Just hot, y'all.
Another one.
It was exactly what my mom was.
Alright, we're going to be meeting on the other side of the room, like I said, guys. I am going to give you time to walk around and take pictures on your own in just a few minutes. There is also another tour that's going to be coming inside in just a moment. Before the Sorrels had their house built here, a couple decades beforehand, outside in Madison Square was the site of the siege of Savannah, one of the bloodiest hours of the Revolutionary War. While all that fighting was taking place outside, right here stood the barracks for the British officers. One of the small victories that the Franco-Americans had during the siege of Savannah was bombing these barracks, killing about 12 officers or soldiers. We believe that if we dig under the foundation of this house right now, we will come across the remains. People believe that spirits attach themselves to these remains, which could be why their spirit is still present with us now. Another spirit that we have down here is Shadow Man. Shadow Man is notorious not only to this house, but to all of Savannah, probably because of his very creepy name, Shadow Man. He is a 7 to 8 foot tall shadow figure with undistinguishable facial features. Although we are unaware of Shadow Man's origins, many people believe that he was an officer or a soldier killed during the siege of Savannah. Shadow Man is not the only spirit down here, but can be experienced all over this lower level. But he is mainly seen behind me in this red breezeway, pacing back and forth, which is why we have dubbed this area of the house Shadow Man's Breezeway. People report feeling somebody standing behind them down here. Sometimes it's a 7 to 8 foot tall shadow figure hovering over them. There is a chair at the end of Shadow Man's Breezeway, When I give you guys time to walk around on your own, you may sit in that chair, although it is mainly there for investigation. They used to train all the paranormal tour guides to stand in this doorway or the doorway down there, because people would take our picture and Shadow Man would appear in the background. I'm going to ask you guys to meet me in that back room now. There is a handle on the left door. Just pull it towards you, and I'll be meeting you guys there in a second.
Oh, it's him.
Thank you. There is another tour coming inside of the house. You are going to hear footsteps above you. And like I said, I'm going to give you guys time on your own in just a little bit to explore the entire lower level. If you guys don't mind coming out of that breezeway for me and joining me in this room. Thank you.
I'm already in.
So before I start, can I get everybody to take a deep breath for me? Is anybody smelling anything? Candles, stagnant air, dust.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody smelling anything besides musty old basement? Like mint? All right. This is the linen room. This is where I believe clothes were washed while the Sorrels lived here. There is a fireplace behind me. We believe some cooking was done in this room as well. A lot of paranormal experiences that people have down here in this room are smells. People report smelling floral detergents, lavender, as well as herbs and spices, thyme, mint, rosemary, vanilla, cinnamon. People sometimes smell food cooking down here. Somebody on one of my tours said that they smelled bread in here. People also report feeling claustrophobic in here. You guys are a little bit of a big group, so I'm not really sure if you're feeling that way. On some of my coworkers' tours, they've had smaller groups who have been struggling for wall space because they feel a very fast and quick energy around them. If you think about it, if you had 13 to 15 people down here all at the same time, trying to prepare for a party upstairs, it's very understandable why it could feel like a very fast and quick energy rushing beside you. We're going to move into the next room now. Before we do, there is a couch if you would like to sit. You will sink into it. Also, if you're wearing valuable jewelry, especially dangly earrings, I advise you to take them out now if you would like to, if you don't want to lose them. I will explain why in just a few minutes. Whoever wants to be the first one into that room, push on the door this time.
Yeah, we'll follow whoever.
I'm going to push these doors all the way open. Pardon me, I'm going to open it. No, you're all right.
Oh, why is it so much warmer in there but colder?
We can sit on this side?
Yeah. Okay.
Here. I'm just trying to find the button lock in it. So this is it.
If you guys want to keep filing in, feel free to fill out the dead center of the room if you would like to. Upstairs in the study, I told you guys that was the least active room in the house. This is the most active room in the house. While the Sorrels lived here, this room was used a lot for dry storage. But as many of you have probably seen that trauma kit. This was a makeshift operating room for Dr. Frank Sorrel, who's pictured right up here. Dr. Frank Sorrel was one of Lucinda's children. He was also a very skilled trauma surgeon. He dealt with amputations, bullet removals, as well as common illnesses. People come into this room and report feeling sick, feeling like they have a fever, or feeling very nauseous. People also say that sometimes parts of their body go numb, like their fingers, arm, leg. There is a bone saw in the bottom of that trauma kit with some rust on the bottom. That could be why you are feeling this feeling of an amputation. Although that is not rust, that is most likely dried blood. Although Dr. Frank was not a dentist, There are a couple of dental tools in that trauma kit. One woman came in here and reported that her mouth went numb. That could be why. Women have come in here before and said that they have experienced labor pains or bad back pains. Besides all that trauma surgery that went on in here, we have a couple of playful entities. One of them we believe is a little girl. We believe this little girl's name is Sarah. And we think that Sarah likes to play hide and seek with our guests. And that's because people who are standing near furniture, like the desk, couch, trauma kit, table, say that they feel something touch their ankles or their pant leg being tugged at. Keep in mind that the touch of a spirit is going to feel very different than the touch of a person. I'm sorry to ask you, would you mind using flash once I let you guys disperse? No, that's all right. Thank you. But the touch of a spirit is going to feel very different than the touch of a person. It's going to feel very light, tingly. It can feel like cobwebs or a bug crawling on your skin. Like I said upstairs, if you want to tell if something's paranormal or not, simply move. On one of my coworkers' tours, after she had given people time to walk around on their own, one man decided to sit on that couch. This man was also a skeptic. There's nothing wrong with that. My job is not to prove to you that the paranormal exists. But he reported hearing small footsteps running up to that couch and the cushion next to him bouncing, like somebody had just taken a seat next to him. I told you in the other room, if you're wearing expensive jewelry, especially dangly earrings, you might want to take them out before coming into this room. We have another entity in here that many people refer to as the earring kid. This is because a lot of jewelry has gone missing in this room. We don't know where any of this jewelry goes. It doesn't appear the next day in the center of the floor or on the table, nor does it appear anywhere else in the house. It's simply gone. On one of my coworkers' tours, a woman complained that her earring felt like it was gone. She looked in front of her, or her earring was dangling in front of her face, and was then thrown across the room. So did the rest of her tour. If that happened, I would leave all of you guys behind. I'm kidding. Too much paperwork. Before I became a tour guide here, I was on a tour with my family a couple years back. My dad was standing over by that desk and reported feeling a cold patch. He grabbed my arm and pulled me over, and I experienced what he was feeling. It felt like we were standing underneath of an air conditioner or had just opened up a freezer in front of us. It was also the middle of July. There are no air conditioners or freezers down here, so we wrote this off as paranormal. Later that night, when my dad was going through a lot of his photos from this house, a lot of them had gone blank. Their phones are a source of energy, and so are these spirits. For them to tamper with technology is not uncommon. The last thing that I want to talk about is right over here in this corner. This is a 19th century wheelchair. It has been on our property with us for about 2 years. Over the time that it has been here, this wheelchair has moved a lot. If it were to move right now, it's not going to wheel out to the center of the room like somebody might think it would. This wheelchair is going to move no more than an inch. If I take my light off of it, it's very dark over there. I doubt any of us would really be able to see it move. But we would be able to hear it. This wheelchair has a very squeaky back wheel. When it tries to run over these bricks, it is very audible. I'm going to give you guys time now to walk around and explore on your own before you start moving. The couch in this room and in the linen room you may sit on, as well as Shadow Man's chair. Please do not sit on the 19th century wheelchair, bless you. You can go talk to Shadow Man, you can play hide and seek in here with Sarah, or do your own exploring. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to open these two doors right behind you guys.
Did you bring your own equipment?
Yeah. Yeah, just records the audio. Yeah. No, I have no idea. No, I'm not even actually. I forgot my headphones at home, so I'll have to listen to it all later.
So you'll find out later.
Yeah. We did a tour a few years ago that went to the Moon River Brewing Company, and I don't believe in this stuff, but I did hear something really weird.
Really?
On that one. Yeah, it was like the
When
sound
I was
of
looking up the different places, I saw that the Moon River.
but it was the sound
really
of like
cool.
somebody breathing into it. It was really creepy.
Oh.
Yeah.
We've actually done this tour before.
Yeah.
We
Do you
really
like
liked
it? So,
Oh yeah.
We loved it. Yeah, last time that section where you go and stand in front of the fireplace, I went with another
There was
woman
a
and
thunderstorm that night,
the
so-
lights went off in the
Yeah,
house.
the
The
power
power went
went
out.
Yeah, we
That
were-
really makes the mood. Right? Exactly.
We were thinking that they were playing a prank on the tour guide because he was brand new.
Oh my god. stop.
But I don't think so, because I mean, there's expensive stuff in this house. So,
Yeah.
No, it was real. No, the power actually went off in the entire block for about, I don't know, about 20 seconds.
Yeah.
maybe.
Oh my god, that must have been crazy.
It was scary.
It
yeah,
was
very
it was
scary.
awesome. It
Yeah.
was really cool.
But yeah, that was like, yeah, it just kind of, this place just sort of stuck in my mind for a while. So
Definitely wanted to come back. My sister and her husband were fine. I did literally like 4 hours of research, like figuring out where we could go. Because I'm really passionate about this stuff. And then my sister's husband was like, well, because they did one of those like pub crawls yesterday.
Yeah.
Right. Like they mentioned this place, so I looked it up and I was like, oh, this is pretty like reputable. Like,
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm sitting
It
here, I'm like,
is.
ooh.
Yeah.
Well, this is the only tour in Savannah that just basically takes place in one house. That you can walk through.
But
So that's why we
that's
like
what
it
I've been
so much.
seeing. I did so much research. I wanted to
Yeah.
go like the Factors Walk place.
I don't know that one.
They had this kind of like lame tour I saw going on there, but I feel like I wanted to do like a lockdown kind of thing. They
Yeah.
don't really have that for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have it here.
They
do
do,
a
yeah.
lockdown
Yeah.
here once in a while. I don't know how often, but
I think it's on the weekends, and you can do like an extended like.
And that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that'd be a lot of fun. But yeah, I don't know anywhere else that actually does that. But there is a brew tour that actually goes into Moon River, into sections you can't normally go into.
Yeah, there is.
It was really neat.
We're gonna get up and go around.
Go find Shadow Man.
Yeah, I took pictures in his chair.
Let's see if the little girl's hiding under the sofa.
Oh my God, no, don't do that.
My camera will take pictures fast enough to catch her anyway.
There is a window right there, and people sometimes walk by from outside, and their shadow like takes up that entire room. So that could have been what you were seeing.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like it was my height and my stature.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you guys about a Facebook group later on. If you join that group, and you can look through some of the photos in there. A lady on my tour the other night captured a picture right over there, and it looks like Shadow Man. Not saying that it is, but it's very interesting to hear that. I'll tell you guys about that. I'm scared. Okay, wait, let's go get her.
Where you sit on the sofa, you feel something? Brady, come here and sit on this one. Come on, Brady.
I'm gonna start with these two doors in the middle.
You said what?
I'm gonna go around and start closing some doors. For those of you who are ready to move on, the doors to the carriage hall for now. It's dark in here.
How long have you been doing tours here?
A little over a month.
A little over a month. Okay, cool. Do you like it?
I'm enjoying it a lot so far. Alright guys. For those of you who are ready to move on, like I said, doors to the courtyard are open. So Not specifically on that tour, but I have had a lot
What is
of
it?
experiences.
I'm waiting for my camera to. So I can.
I don't know if I can sit in this chair actually.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, she said it was okay. Oh, you don't know if you could physically sit in it.
Shadow Man's gonna make it like fall through, so the pictures just be going.
All right, come on, let's hurry.
Okay.
Yeah, they're leaving. Hang on just a second.
All right, guys, I do hate to rush you.
We're coming. I'm sorry.
Everybody to meet me outside.
You got it. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. Are you my last two?
Yeah, the last two.
All right, I'll go double check. Thank you, guys. Anything else on the brief tonight? All right.
Saturday night. There's a reason why I picked later. Yeah. Why not like that friend's laying up to you?
All right, guys. If you need to move to hear me, you are more than welcome to. Before I do start talking, though, I want to let you guys know that there is going to be a shift in support. We've been very respectful not only of me, but of this house. I ask you to maintain your respect while we go to the next one. While the Sorrels lived here, the upper level of the carriage house was the enslaved living quarters. A balcony would have ran the length of the building, starting there down to here. There would have been a staircase where that bird bath is. There are two doors down there. There is a door on the left and a door on the right. The door on the right led to the enslaved living quarters. The door on the left led to Molly's room. Molly was also enslaved, but she was isolated from everybody else. That staircase and balcony was the only way to access the enslaved living quarters in Molly's room. March 27th, 1860, Matilda was wondering how the preparations for her party were coming along. To find this out, she would ask her most entrusted slave, who at the time was Molly. She looked all through the house and couldn't find Molly anywhere. The last place she thought to look for her was in her bedroom. When Matilda went to look for Molly in her bedroom, she found her. But she also found her husband Francis in bed with Molly. You can take a guess as to what was happening. Remember, Molly was enslaved, Francis was her enslaver. I doubt a choice was given, I doubt any consent was given. Matilda ran out of Molly's room, through the drive, up to the third-story balcony, where she tumbled over the edge and passed away due to head trauma. A couple weeks later, nobody could find Molly once again. The last place they thought to look for her was in her bedroom. When they went to look for Molly in her bedroom, they found her. Except this time, she was hanging from a rafter. At the time, according to the Sorrel family and to the state of Georgia, Molly was property. Her death was not documented. Matilda's death, on the other hand, was reported as an accident, probably to save face for this family. Many people think that we're looking at a murder and a suicide, but we're not 100% sure. The Sorrels have a lovely family mausoleum at Laurel Grove Cemetery here in Savannah, if you would like to visit it. If you do, you'll notice that Matilda is not buried with the rest of her family. She is buried in an unmarked grave, signifying that her death was most likely a suicide. We're going to head into the enslaved living quarters now. I'm going to play that EVP that I promised for you guys, and then we're going to head into the upper level.
Do you?
I honestly can't remember.
People talking like in an empty room. I don't know, I feel silly. Alright, whoever the last person in is, wouldn't mind closing that door for me. So for those of you who have heard an EVP before, what do they sound like to you guys?
Static.
Static, whatever that noise just was. Going through different channels.
Sometimes they're like clear voices.
Sometimes they're clear. Sometimes they're clear voices, but it's pretty rare. Usually gargled or mumbly voices. Usually it's only 1 or 2 words that are said through the EVP, if that makes sense. Usually it's not full sentences or a lot of words at the same time. This EVP was recorded upstairs in Molly's room, and it was recorded by TAPS, Ghost Hunter's personal investigating team. At the time, they had this part of Madison Square and Wall Street blocked off, so nothing or nobody could tamper with their evidence. It's going to play the audio 3 times. First, it's just going to be the audio, and then it's going to put the words on the screen. It's also going to talk about orbs for a second. If you don't want to pay attention to that part, though, you don't have to.
Yes, it wasn't really major, but as you can see from these 2 pictures, I don't know if you guys can see them. There's 3 rooms in there, dust. It looks like dust, but when we took another picture about 5 minutes later, we got the same 3 orbs on the other side, Steve.
Mm-hmm. You know, the only thing interesting about it is that you do have that like same formation, but
It wasn't nothing. We figured you guys would shoot them down anyways, but
no, we sure appreciate you having the short line. So did you catch anything on video?
no, nothing on video. No.
But now there's that screen.
I'll play that right now. Just the screen.
So how does that sound in comparison to what I just told you guys EVPs normally sound like?
Pretty clear.
Very clear. It was a lot of words at the same time as well. And like you guys said, it was very clear. It wasn't very staticky. If you guys don't have any further questions about that video, we can go ahead and head upstairs. Through that doorway into the left part.
I think that's the moment of her death as they were killing her.
Pardon, I couldn't hear, sorry.
You think that started like as they were coming to kill her?
It could have been. Some people believe that this was
Upstairs already?
Yeah.
Oh my God, get out. That's the best thing she said.
Yeah.
What's the matter?
Like that.
Like what?
That EVP.
You didn't like it?
Mm-mm.
What's that?
Well, because I'll tell it. We'll talk about it later.
Okay. Ooh, now I'm curious.
Yeah. Well, because whether or not it's like total bunker or like someone out in Fort, what is representing is something that really happened. That's, I think, kind of wildly inappropriate, you know, for entertainment purposes.
You did not.
Like I'm just making stuff up.
There we go. Room for everyone. These are the enslaved living quarters. The first thing I usually mention is how hot or warm it is up here. That air conditioner in the back, said it's about 84. It can get into the hundreds here in the summertime. There were 13 to 15 men, women, and or children up here all at the same time. This window right here and on the other side there were the only two original windows. They had a fireplace at the back to cook their food. Like I said, in the lower level, I can't imagine how hot it would have been up here with embers of a fire, two windows, and 13 to 15 people sleeping elbow to elbow. The door at the back of the room is also not original. That would have been completely bricked up while the Sorrels lived here. Molly would have been truly isolated. In just a moment, I'm going to let you guys tour inside of Molly's room. Before you do, it is the smallest space you're going to be in tonight. You can go in group by group, half the group in, half the group out, however you guys would like to do that. But before you do, I just ask you to maintain your respect in Molly's room. It is not our space, it is hers. You should respect it like she wants. You guys can go ahead and head into Molly's room now. I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to start talking again in a few minutes.
Yeah, I'll let y'all go first. Let me know how it works out for you.
Why are you going ahead again? Let this thing seems fearless.
That feels good.
Right.
Yeah.
This was the only way in. That was the only way in Molly's room.
There's a staircase coming up right there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry. No, we're good.
That's probably just a glare from the
Show you where I found the air conditioning like sensation.
Does someone ever have an EMF reader? Maybe. Sorry.
I was just thinking that. I'm just saying.
This is going to be the end of the house portion of the tour. I have a couple things to talk about before I let you guys go. We have a Facebook group called Sorrel-Weed House Evidence. If you have pictures or videos that you believe you have caught something paranormal, that is where you can share them. You and the rest of the community in that Facebook group act in your own investigating team and debunk or talk about what is in your photos. We also have a trip advisor page that I get to tell you guys about. We are a small nonprofit organization. When you guys leave us positive reviews, it helps to bring in more guests so we can keep giving you guys support. Most of the money from ticket sales go back into restoring this house so we can keep giving you guys support. Again, my name is Zoe. If you guys have any further questions, we're all going to be meeting downstairs out in the courtyard because the gate is locked. And after that, I'll let you guys go.
Sorry.
All right. Am I walking tour? Yeah. All right. Almost everybody's on my walking tour. We believe that
She was in the tape. Not me. They all look stressed. Oh my god. Oh no, she look happy. Now that's a happy spirit right there. I'm gonna take a picture. This one, like you saw, they all look so stressed. Look at her. You see her smiling? Yeah. Like, man, you only live once. YOLO.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize that I left you with this.
Oh, nothing's like, very inappropriate. Nothing's gonna be. There's no drinks flowing. It's obviously a museum.
Thank you, Zoe.
You're welcome. But I'm not actually.
On the sofa after you left, and then kneeled down next to me and took pictures with me.
Oh, no kidding.
And showed me all of his pictures that he took.
Oh, it's so cute. He went into the room and was like, shh, respect.
In the morning? Probably not.
I am. You just.
I need to come and do a day tour here. Oh, it's the shell. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember the guy actually showed us the spot where she landed. Oh, sorry. I can't remember where it was supposed to be.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Wait, which one? The one who ran up?
And then she fell over into the sidewalk, but I'm not sure where the spot is.
Pardon me, guys.
That looks pretty creepy.
For those of you on my walking tour, we're going to be meeting outside to the right on that sidewalk.
I'm like, kind of. And then I took my picture. I'm like,
Sorry we didn't get the walking tour.
Oh no, honey, it's okay.
We can go to Sixpence and
And go into the bathroom and let the ghost try to put the moves on me.
Just going into the bathroom with the camera. Wish we could join you on the tour. Is
Thank
this?
you so much.
Yeah,
Really,
thank you.
this
That
was
was great. We're looking for the Sixpence pub. Is that right down that way? Do you know?
Honestly,
Yeah.
It's okay.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
You guys, my last two.
Yeah, but I think it's down this way. Here, hold this. I'm gonna put my camera away.
Okay.
What? Oh boy. Did you enjoy that?
I did.
Yeah. That was one of the reasons why that tour just sticks in my mind. It's just a creepy freaking house.
Yeah.
I saw you guys had your equipment. You should come back and join us for an investigation.
We may do that, yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, what was that? I think it's just right down here.
Are you sure?
Next door. I don't know.
Okay.
Saints and Shamrocks.
Big old group.
That's what the t-shirt just said. Yes. The one I
Yeah, I think it was like him and his brother kept like coming up and just being like,
Yeah, his father was pretty cool too.
Yeah.
That's called the public.
Okay.
Hey, maybe I am wrong.
Let me check it out.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like we're 2 minutes. It's like 200 feet away, so it's on Bull. It says we are Saints and Shamrocks. Is that's Liberty?
Saints and Shamrocks. Huh?
That's
Yeah,
Liberty?
that's Liberty.
Okay, so we need to go this way.
If it was the $97 tour, it was like, what's up? Fucking, they used to fucking hack people's fucking shit off in the air. They used to just
You like your balls, we'll kiss them
just like,
fucking by.
You know, it's like, ha ha ha, sporch all over the place, man, and just caught in bed, just that, doing
Okay. My thing is all confused.
Okay.
Son of a bitch.
That's Harris, so this is Bull and Harris right here. So
Okay.
that's Bull. Going in that way.
No, so we were supposed to be going that way.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I knew it.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. So there's the Griffin.
Where are we on?
This is Bull right here.
This cross street?
Yeah. So this is Bull and Harris.
Okay, so it's on Bull.
Yeah. So I feel like if we would have kept on walking, we would have run into it.
Oh, this is okay.
Yeah.
All right. Whatever.
Yeah, it's okay.
Is it on the right?
I was watching some people walk around with like little detectors.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so funny, yeah, just people get really caught up in that stuff.
Well, you know, I see it's a lot of fun. I mean, honestly, the most fun part for me was just kind of like the girl who sat down on the sofa next to us, who was like clearly just
Yeah, she was into it.
loving it, and
Yeah. She was.
and those
Yeah, I'm sorry.
oh no, and just those two little boys who were just absolutely precious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is so funny to me that like just their ghost shows are all over the place. I mean, they practically run the Travel Channel. But like when she asked a room full of people who look like they watch TV.
Yeah.
Does anybody know what a electronic voice phenomenon is? Like,
Everyone.
nobody raises their hands. Nobody. Everybody knows.
Everyone knows.
But
Because
yeah,
they're too
this-
shy. Yeah.
This one guy pointed to me. He's like, "You know."
And did you write it out then?
No, I did. No, she had her hand up.
Yeah.
I was like, call on her.
She knew.
Who knows?
Go. What? Huh?
Maybe not. I don't know.
It is interesting though because BuzzFeed Unsolved has become kind of a major thing now.
Yeah.
It's I don't know.
Well, BuzzFeed Unsolved is definitely my favorite of all of those.
Yeah, because it does what those shows should. It should just like recognize it at face value, and not everybody on there should be. Even those ghost hunter dweebs, like they, the premise of that show that I always liked when it first came on was that they're all skeptics.
Right.
But there it is.
Maybe it's open. I don't know. It's 10:30. Supposed to be open until 12.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I liked the initial premise, but that was the thing. That was what made it so unique, and then all of
They got that stupid Jason guy on there, or what? Not Jason, but that guy who's like, dude.
Yeah.
I have nyctophobia.
That's the guy from that movie.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh shit, they're closed. Look at that. Damn it.
Closed today.
See you tomorrow. Thank you. It's probably because they were short-staffed or something.
Probably because there's a ghost.
Yeah. That blows. We'll find something else.
Yeah.
Open. And go to that DeSoto.
I want to go some dessert and get some food.
I know you do. What about that public place?
Putting up chairs right now.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
We can at least ask them if they know of any place else close by and they still be open. There's a mellow mushroom. Yeah.
You want to try that place?
Yeah, sure. So why didn't you like that the EVP?
Well,
I mean, it's not like they were connected, they.
Well, no, that's what they're inferring.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, is that and that was what the couple that was close to us was asking. She's like, was that the last moments of her life? And she's like, well, that's what is supposed. And so, I was kind of like, yeah, I can. Like, it's creepy, it's effective.
Yeah.
But I'm not like totally like, oh, how dare they? But at the same time, it does make me feel a little uncomfortable that it's kind of like when I took the Rosa Parks show on tour and kids would laugh at the violence in the show.
Yeah, I know. I totally understand you. So it's basically like, it is kind of tasteless to like infer that an EVP is like of a rape.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, especially knowing that the reaction from people is going to be things like laughter, getting titillated, or you know.
The thing about it is that it's just like the tour guide told us over at Moon River. People know that they're filming. Of course they're going to go in. And it's probably going to be like the tour guides who know all of the angles, who know all the alleys, who know all the pipes, all the ways to sneak in.
There's an alley right next to that window. So
Yeah.
It's very clearly going to be someone standing in the alley yelling.
Yeah, exactly. And Ghost Hunters, that was back in 2005 when they had only been on the air for like a couple of years.
Yeah.
And those guys like fake stuff all the time.
Oh,
You know,
I know.
they do. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trust that bald-headed penis any further that I can throw him.
Alright, I'm going to.
Huh?
Well, I'm gonna pull up places to eat.
Well, there's this hitch place.
Yeah.
That looks like something.
Yeah.
You wanna check it out?
Sure. So maybe what they did is that they, instead of like canceling the tree.
Cocktails and dreams. Holy F.
No.
That's hilarious. Oh, and of course they're playing Footloose in there.
Yeah.
So now we gotta go in and check it out.
Alright.
Cocktails and dreams. That's really funny. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's
Yeah.
okay.
I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah. Make sure
Shadow
they're
Man.
still serving food. Hopefully. I think it looks like they are. I don't know if we wait. Or if we order at the bar. What's it say? Hey, sorry. No, you're fine. Oh, okay, great.
Yeah. Are you still serving dinner?
Yeah.
Oh,
We,
okay.
the kitchen's open until midnight.
Oh, great. Do you want to sit inside or outside?
We'll sit inside.
You want to
Yeah.
sit inside? Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so we can see anyone?
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
Is that all right?
Yeah, of course, honey.
You just want to sit in this high top over here?
No. Oh, is this for him?
Yeah, is this okay?
Oh, because we're right next to the air.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Yay.
Sorry, I'm just...
No. Yeah. Oh man.
That feels good.
Yeah.
My mom's standing on the frame of her new deck, her kitchen.
Aww. Okay. Let's see. I think they may still be doing the.
Yeah. Cocktails.
They've got tacos, plates, greens, sandwiches, chairs. They have a shrimp and grits taco.
I'm really not that hungry. I would probably get like something like an appetizer or whatever.
Okay.
Thank you so
Hey,
much.
thank you.
You guys want any drinks other than water right now?
Yes, but I'm not sure what I want. Yeah.
I'm gonna have an old fashioned with maker's mark.
Let me double check.
Oh.
Alright, I'll be back. If we don't have it, I'll let you know.
I have a Georgia Mule, which is bourbon, lime juice, peach liqueur, and ginger beer. Oh.
This is Iowa.
They have Bloody Marys.
Ooh.
With their own mix.
Bourbon pecan pie. I went through that fast.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, it's very hot tonight.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Do we make a decision on a drink?
Oh, yes. I'm going to get the Georgia Mule.
Georgia Mule?
Yeah.
It's that scene at Footloose where they're burning the books.
Yeah. Oh, no. What are you going to do then? Take these. Go home to your families.
Go home to your families.
Satan is not.
He's in here.
He's in your heart.
I've seen this movie so many times.
I know.
It's embarrassing.
I know. Sin and judgment on yourself.
Bow tie dork English teacher. Tom Sawyer is a classic. Huckleberry Finn.
Slaughterhouse 5. Oh. I keep finding what I want and then I keep losing it.
What do you want?
I don't know. I lost it.
You want to get something to share?
Yeah.
I mean, only if you want to. I'm just not that hungry enough to order an entree for myself.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Has already been helping out.
Yeah, she's gotten it.
Drinks for
Yeah.
us, yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Let's put some of these maybe either the veggie tacos or the Miyagi beef tacos.
Yeah.
What?
Miyagi beef tacos.
Why? Oh.
Miyagi.
Oh.
Yeah. Whatever you want, baby.
I'm good either way.
Here you are.
Oh, great. Thank you.
We are making that meal. Do we want to put in any food?
Yeah, do you want to...
Yeah. Do you want to do the Miyagi beef tacos?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miyagi beef tacos?
Yeah, we're just going to split them.
Just those?
Yeah.
Pictures here. We caught any ghosts. I didn't really get much in the basement because I didn't want to do the flash to get them blind everybody. See any ghosts?
That woman, no.
What?
No. That.
I know.
Kind of like a Where's Waldo. You have to kind
Yeah,
of take
I know.
your time.
That's where I blinded everyone.
Yeah.
That's it.
Aw.
I just didn't get them a lot because my phone was dead and bad.
Some pictures of the dark corner in her room.
There you are.
Thank you so much.
Toast.
Hey!
Hey.
Another successful ghost
Ghost
tour
tour.
night in Savannah.
You didn't get eaten by ghosts.
Yeah. Very different vibe. That girl who was giving the tour, I asked her, I don't know if you were with me when I asked her, I was like, have you been doing this tour long? And she's, a month.
Yeah.
It's like, you enjoy it? She's like, yeah, I really enjoy it. But I could tell that she was new because I could hear her, like, going through the script.
Yeah, of course.
And so it's just like, I think you'll have a lot more fun with this, like, once you get a little bit off script. And,
of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Sounded like something that she actually was into.
Right.
But I think I'd be a good ghost tour.
I think you would be a very good ghost tour, and that's one of the things I used to love so much. When I would do tours at Red Mountain, it's like number one, I created the script.
Yeah.
So like it was very easy to internalize it and make it my own.
Yeah.
But in terms of just like really personalizing the tour, talking to your guests, getting to know them, and it's tough there because they're running tours every 30 minutes, so
Yeah,
it's very
I know.
tough to have any real
Yeah,
time
it
with the
didn't
guests.
feel
so.
like when we went with that kid before, and maybe it's because we went to like one of the later tours. I think they've switched up that schedule a little bit more
Yeah.
since we were last here.
Yeah.
Because those like all-nighter paranormal investigation tours are totally new, I think.
Mm-hmm. No, I think those were happening last time. Yeah. I just realized that our waitress is dressed as Mario.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to figure out.
Yeah.
So I guess this is like an 80s kind of bar, or I don't know.
It's movie themed. I guess just movie themed.
Yeah.
Alright, so what's your favorite?
And I'm going to turn off the recorder. It's been going ever since we left the hotel. Hour 58.
I tried to get the...
Concludes the recording.
Did you not take a picture of me in the chair?